Testing. Are we back? I
All
think we're
right.
back.
We survived it?
We survived it. Sorry about that, everybody.
screen of death.
Blue screens. My streaming PC just completely just decided to give up on us. So hopefully that's the only time that happens. Hopefully never, ever, ever again.
Can't hold us down, Dan. We're back. We're alive. We're a little bit later into the game. It's currently 5-3 in favor of Cloud9 over Immortals. And I just peeked in on what was going on with Complexity and Gen G. Jonah Pionsova just delayed a defuse for 20 seconds, it felt like. And now they're up 7-1 total control playing on Haven against Gen G, which is a bit of a shocker for me because Complexity wasn't on my radar as a squad that can hang with all the top tier squads. They've been doing it. They just too-load T1 to get to this point in their upper bracket matchup.
Yeah, they're definitely a team which I've heard a lot of people being impressed by recently. So it's good to see that that continues today. In terms of the scope of this game, because I missed quite a few of those rounds because I was panicked trying to get the stream back up. I'm going to try to see exactly where things are going right now in terms of advantage and disadvantage, like who's ahead. And it doesn't really feel like anybody's ahead right now. It feels like we have some kind of equilibrium between the two teams. And Cloud9, you know, they have had a lot of success in some of those A splits. So I'm liking that we have 100 Thieves actually putting Dicey on the angle. You can see right now with the operator, he's scoped up looking for anybody who may try to take this angle away from him. And interestingly, you know, Cloud9 are just happy to barrel through the A short position. So we'll have to see how successful this is. Most of the Killjoy utility is towards A. They're going to be playing retake there, given the fact that Killjoy is in a fairly passive position in U-Haul, and the rest of the team, you know, 3 are on B at the moment. So not a very strong defense. And this is going to be awkward, actually, for 100 Thieves to hold on to this site.
Yeah, it's kind of been dicey setting up, I believe, three times I've seen him now outside of showers with that operator, and he rotates back extremely slowly. You can see how much action is on the site. Finally, he peeks out as Steel and Hiko are going to convert. And Hiko at range, just getting the info he needs to do damage. Bombs rotating, and they read this one perfectly. 100 Thieves, they do not over-rotate. They do not panic. They are still in a great position to take this round.
Yeah, really, really awesome composure and just good knowledge of how this map can work out with that TP rotation. And that paintball going to stop the plant. Not quite. It does manage to take Mitch down, but the plant is there. So it's going to be a difficult retake here for Steel, especially up against 10s. So, but I love the approach though, in terms of just, you know, strategically sort of conditioning the opposition to maybe either over invest in showers or try to play retake, and then you put them in this tricky position where you do take this A site control effectively from short, and you could plant the spike at that point, but you could also go for the TP rotation with the entire team. So like both options are quite strong. So I kind of like that, given the fact that we have so far been, or rather 100 Thieves so far have been the recipients of a lot of A split pressure. So just a kind of a cool kind of mind game there for Cloud9, although it didn't really work out ultimately for 100 Thieves.
They've been playing extremely passive. They're making Cloud9 push out into uncomfortable positions on the map. But I do like Cloud9's just presence to know when to back out, when to rotate. Steel gives up his location, throwing out a little bit of nano swarms, and Nitro is going to make the call. They're all outside of short A again. The real question is watching Hiko in the top left. What does that Sova do on the defensive rotations? Last time he played it perfectly, but he had an ult. This time he's going to have to break in with his jet as all of the frags are being scored. It's really just a save round here for 100 Thieves. So any kill is going to count. And I think they're just going to play for exits at this point. There's no way they take it back.
Yeah. It was interesting what they were trying to do there. You know, 100 Thieves, you know, immediately sent Asuna through the TP, which is quite audible. And I wonder, you know, what the ultimate plan was behind that. That did leave a defender, and it's one of those things where you do wonder, like, what does that mean? Is it? I haven't tested this, but I'm not sure if you go through right at the start of the round and then TP out as Omen, you know, like, you know, go through the TP, but then you've done your teleport back from just where you TP'd from, if that TP would be audible or not. because then it could be a fake. That could be a fake for that play, for example. I would imagine that would be audible, so it could just have been the case that Cloud9 were a bit confused as to what the hell they were doing because obviously Ascent went through with the raise, so there's no way back after that. But either way.
Yeah, this is the final round of the half, and I feel like for 100 Thieves, you desperately need to win this. You know Cloud9's strength is in their defense for them to go up 7-4. This is a pretty dangerous kickoff to your best of 3.
Yeah, and it was what's really crazy too is that I think Cloud9 keep expecting that 100 Thieves will sort of change things up and go aggressive, and they've been ready for that every time. And so 100 Thieves, I think it must feel like for them that they don't have many options in terms of getting an early rounds advantage, and so it's actually just better to try to see if they can play more passively and win that way. And Mitch will go down with pressure towards Hookah, so that's a pretty big win there for the 100 Thieves side. But we'll have to see if they can actually convert off of that. And you can see that because there's no entrance up short A just yet, and that's actually a huge win though. Baiting out the paranoia, that's actually massive, because that will completely kill a push up A short. So they've got that going for them, and with that they're going to just ship it in through the TP and once again try to just abuse the rotations, and they can go back towards the A short position. That's what they wanted to do, but Nitro was there with the backstab there because of no showers control. Really well played.
And that was a fantastic omen, Telly, just to get out of the rocket range. So really nice work here from 100 Thieves. Patient play and enormous performance from Nitro will make it 5-7.
Yeah, it was actually awesome to see that Cloud9 was so happy to kind of just try to. They went for the short play through the TP. They go back towards short, they bait out more utility, then back through the TP, and then back to short again. And if Nitro hadn't been there with that big flank, had he not been proactive in that sense, then that would have been really interesting to see how that would have played out. But against top-level teams and players, whenever you make a play, you have to expect that, again, if you're against an elite opposition, they're going to take the space in which they can very likely assume you do not have on the map. And that's exactly what Nitro did. So it prevented any shenanigans, I think.
I think we should highlight some of the halftime numbers. 16-6 is 10s leading the charge for Cloud9. On the other side, you have Asuna at the top with the raise. Dicey just 7-6 was kind of kept in check as the Jet for 100 Thieves on the defensive side. Now it's his turn to attack, though, and they're going with a frenzy push here up B long. A lot of action in Hookah as well. They're all hitting at the same time here, Dan.
Yeah, this is such a fast pace here, and it's working out nicely for Cloud9, at least initially. The spike should go down, but they don't really have much positioning, and Shinobi's able to get in there with the paranoia, with the TP straight onto the site. He gets traded as Relics is able to do some good damage here. And Shinobi, it's so awesome to be left in a situation like this on the Omen. This is it's a really hard call for Dice. He's going to be trying to spray through. I'm sure there's a ping there. Maybe there wasn't. Shinobi's just going to stick it behind the smoke. That's brave. That's really brave. Yeah. But it's also maybe a good read, because maybe he expected that Dicey would do what a lot of people actually like to do, which is as soon as the plant goes down, they hear the tap and they expect that the player will come off the spike and they get time to rotate towards elbow or something like that. And Shinobi took all of that out of the picture. So
I think as soon as Shinobi saw Dicey spraying to the right of the cloud, he just knew he could sit in it, right? He's expecting the challenge. I'm at 75%, just finish it off. Shinobi IGL with a big brain play there. And it looked honestly like that should have been a 100 Thieves round. They had 2v2 left with spike planted, but the pressure from Hookah was just too much for him. Shinobi with the clutch diffuse as he sticks it. This round is getting weird, though. As you can see, there's an Omen trapped in a teleporter for Cloud9's defense, and Dicey goes in with the shorty, but Shinobi was holding a Spectre. Going to be called out by the dart here that comes through portal as well. They're trying to spray. Everyone's flooding through, but he's going to be able to trade it out pretty efficiently.
Yeah, I got to say, I love that play from Shinobi. I've been seeing it a little bit more. Getting someone in a TP, but we can talk about that more in a moment. As the B site is under attack. Really good angle, very strong sheer angle for Vice to play with. You can see how awkward it is. You have to like hop up on the ledge to challenge him. So really nicely played. Good knowledge of the strength of certain engagements there from C9. So they're gonna capitalize nicely. 9-5, and then the first buy round is gonna come through for 100 Thieves. So if 100 Thieves have some tricks up their sleeves, they need to throw them out right now. This is the moment.
So far, they've kind of had their Omen just everywhere on the map. He was deep A at the start. That round, Shinobi was playing inside the teleporter outside of Hookah. Now Shinobi's going to be stacking up aggressively. And we have Tens running a judge here on the Jet going into the third round of the second half. And he wants to get extremely aggro with this. Gets shut down instantly, though, by Dicey. Good dart to read that push.
Yeah, Shinobi is normally going to be playing around the U-hold position as well, but he gets caught out by Shower straight away. A fast pace is what they're trying to make work for them, 100 Thieves, and it is actually going to work. They'll get the trades that they need. So I like this. They're already setting the precedent that they're really happy to go for a super fast pace. It catches the defense off guard initially, but not over just yet, of course. The retake attempt is coming through from Spawn. It's going to be pretty difficult, though. They don't really have too much to work with. And with that kill, surely there's nothing left for Mitch.
Come on, Mitch. 1v3 clutch it. Not today.
Never say never.
Okay. Weaponry was weaker. You had to get aggro. The dart shut down the aggro play. And then after that, Relics tried to hold A, and they just got overwhelmed. Too much manpower. Asuna improves to 17 and 11. I feel like he's been very solid on the raise. Got aggressive and got high ground that previous round. And honestly, I've just been waiting for Dicey to pop off. I'm watching him on the mini map, and I'm trying to figure out how exactly he plays on 100 Thieves compared to his previous teams.
Yeah, I think with Asuna and Dicey, they've both been. I think they were precisely really what 100 Thieves were looking for, because 100 Thieves, like, they have all these experienced players who are very smart. They were looking for some kind of cracked aimers, basically, that brought first generation into Valorant, or as close to that as you can get. And so, yeah, it's cool to see Asuna fitting into his role really nicely.
Lots of shower presence from 100 Thieves. They already lost Asuna at short A. 3 versus 5 at this point. And every time they peek, someone is on the other side waiting for the challenge. A third goes down, and now Tens finds a fourth. Real bad round for 100 Thieves. You tried to work both of your A angles, not a single kill until Nitro finds Tens, and he'll be cleaned up by Relic. So nice, solid defense. I feel like the peak battle was just won. Shinobi holding his ground, and Tens got it started with the first pick of the round.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. We'll get looks like a, so they're actually going to force it up here. There's, as you can see on the scoreboard, there's only 3 rifles though for 100 Thieves. So I'm really curious what that means in terms of the kind of round they're going to play. We can already see they're all grouped out towards market. So you'd imagine an explosive play towards the B site. You want to try to get the kills quickly, pick up, drop guns to the players that don't have them, and try to mitigate the disadvantage in weaponry by just getting those quick engagements. And you can send the pistols in first if you want as well to draw fire. Stuff like that is maybe one of the ways you could think about this. Drone comes through, and this is where these plays become really, really annoying. And it is Omen, no less, probably the strongest agent to be in this position, with the paranoia that could be ready to be used at any point. And Vice, he's going to get that drone info, so he's going to give more information towards Shinobi, who is sitting patiently here. He's got the ultimate as well, so he can get out of this position if he needs to. He's going to actually go for the challenge due to the just the swell of players there needing to find that information. The Killjoy ult's popped down as well. It's going to force him to TP out. So ult for ult, we'll have to see if it's going to work out for them, though, because all the information is in the hands of Cloud9. They know what's going on.
Cloud9 on defense, so strong. I kind of talked about just the numbers coming into today. All of their previous games, they were dominant on the defensive side compared to their attack. And I mean, Tens at this point, I don't know how you slow them down. That's another like back-to-back kill in the feed, another 4K round. He's at 25 and 9. The next highest on his team at this point, 10. You got 9 out of Relics. Vice there at 10, and Shinobi behind him at 8, and it's 7 for Mitch. But Tens he's being the opener in these rounds, and he's being the closer in the big ones. And that was all guns for 100 Thieves. Now You're going to see just pistols coming out, a Phantom from Nitro, but the rest of the squad can't support it as he goes back, sells the AR. It's just a pistol round. And one that you're already facing an opponent who's on 11 round wins. So this is a real tough spot to be in if you're the IGL of 100 Thieves. It looks like an all-in on B is going to be the plan.
Yeah, absolutely. On those pistols, see what they can do. I'm liking the... I also like the one-upmanship in the previous round, Jet versus Jet. Dicey gets 2, Tens just sprays down 3 as a response. So it's an awesome display.
Let me show you what I got.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
right,
Tens
they get
is
onto the B site.
Impressive.
Fight goes down, but how long do you hold it?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to work from this position for 100 Thieves.
And they're going for the defuse, and Hiko can do nothing about it, guys.
Yeah, just so spread out, so pushed back.
All right, Hiko did pick up an AR out of that round. They got a bomb plant, so bonus 300 credits. Everyone can buy here, but now you need to win 6 straight. Otherwise, Bind is going to C9. Looking at the attacking setup, they've been favoring B. A has not been an option outside of the early rounds. And I want to see, do they have any set plays behind a flash? Like, what is the move here? Where is the trouble on the B side for them at this point? It seems like it's been a little bit of a lurk from the Sova, and that would be Vice this round for C9.
Yeah, Cloud9 is just so good at slowing their opponents down and getting information, and then being able to kind of shuffle into having an advantage because they figure it out, they buy time, they then rotate into positions that will help them defend things, and that's just like how they're consistent with that. And Tens, he popped the Blazestorm straight away, trying to make the plays. Trading though doesn't go too well for him, and it's interesting with that aggressive play. It's actually Cloud9 giving opportunity to 100 Thieves, and it looks like it's looking like it could be unsalvageable here for Cloud9, and obviously the best possible time for 100 Thieves as Cloud9 are on that game point here, but it's never say never, as we said before, and there's the rotation of these two Beast players looking for the retake here, and there's no utility available except for Vice, who's got I'm not sure how long until 20 seconds until recon. The drone is going to spot 1 in U-Haul, but there's 4 players, and I don't think 100 Thieves are ever giving this one up. I've seen, I think it was on Haven, there was a really embarrassing one which actually happened where they were 4 versus 2 and they threw it. So I think that's still fresh in their minds.
Can't happen again. It's impossible. Not this squad. And I was curious, do you know the answer? Who is officially the IGL of 100 Thieves right now? Is Steel taking on that role, or is Nitro at this point?
Right now, I think that it's... I'm not sure if it's Steel or Nitro right now. I'm not sure if they've been switching it up or not. I would assume that it would be Steel, but right now still. But yeah, yeah.
That's a follow-up for future episodes of Immortal Minds. We're going to be talking with 100 Thieves about their roles.
Yeah, the chat's confirming that it's Steel right now. That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And the man likes to have control. By the way, Steel, one of the greatest observers in Counter-Strike history. The very first event Dan and I worked on was X Games. And Steel, I don't think, missed a single kill that entire tournament. Shortly after, we found out Valve would not allow him to observe for us anymore. And he is now a Valorant pro player. End of story.
Yeah, that was just as it was happening, the Iberpower scandal. I remember. Yeah, good old times. MLG Aspen, what a great event.
Get you right into rehearsal. Best day of my life. All right, back to the game here. 100 Thieves and Cloud9. 100 Thieves trying to stay alive. Cloud9 has been on match point. Last round, they got a little aggro, a little cocky, a little bit punished. Money's not a problem yet. And Tens, well, he's got the operator waiting for anyone to peek, and eventually we'll find his first blood as Asuna drops. That's the top fragger. What do you do to come out of this one? Turret has spotted the push-up short A as well. So no flood onto the site. They're going to have to make their way in with some picks as Steel takes down the turret. Now he has to get through 3 players. This is the Jet. That's going to be Tens of Top in Heaven has that operator ready to rock.
Again, this is just another round where once more Cloud9 are able to have the rotation's pretty much there before the attacks really hit them. And there will be some space towards U-Haul and the front of the site for them to work with, but they have to deliver the frags, which is happening. Fortunately for 100 Thieves, to their credit, they are hitting all of their shots right now, and Cloud9 are not able to hang on. So 100 Thieves, they are really on a knife edge, but they're managing to deliver the results that they need, and they're going to pick up this round, it looks like, because Relics has 1 HP. He's out of there. So brilliant stuff from 100 Thieves. Again, it feels like this is kind of what you have to do against Cloud9 on bind. You have to be very confident, and this was the only rounds that Envy were able to win against them on the attack as well. Is that Cloud9 are going to figure out what you're doing. They're probably going to have a rotation in or coming in at a good timing, or very reliably. So you have to just be confident that even though you know you're going to be walking into an attack, into a site where you're expected and where the rotation is probably ready, you just have to be confident that your coordination, your execution, your players, your kind of cracked duelists are going to be able to deliver, and that's exactly what we saw here. So I'm curious to see how this will develop.
Can I credit one man? I think it was Steel that round. Steel was the game changer. All right, you lost Asuna right away. You needed to bust onto A site. There was a turret in your way. So Steel not only takes down the turret, he then feels the pressure from U-Haul, throws his first Nano Swarm. While that's going off, he's able to pick up the headshot on TenZ, who had the operator. So now op threat is gone on the right. He throws his second Nano Swarm into a smoke, forcing Mitch outside of the U-Haul, picks up that kill as well. And after those first two go down, you have this site. Without those picks from Steel, that round doesn't happen. And you just have to think, this man, he's not even fragging well yet. What is Steel going to be doing for 100 Thieves once his shot is back?
So we're seeing here as well, like Cloud9 doing the Korean BBQ play, is what they call it, which was inspired by Vision Strikers. We can go more into that in a moment. There's 3 of them in the TP right now, and the bomb is actually rotating. The spike is making its way all the way through spawn as Shower's control is gained by 100 Thieves. They are reading what's going on, but Cloud9 have 5 players left alive, so they're, I think, pretty happy with how this has gone, even though they will lose this site, and Steel's getting an incredibly forward lockdown. And it's really cool. You may think, well, that's a very exposed spot to have it, but Steel understand. He's read the rotation, so he knows that they can't actually kill it. If they were to try to do that, they would get actually caught by it because they're too far away. So Steel just bought an extra 10 seconds or so to slow down this rotation, which is pretty critical given the fact that we have a 5v3 here for Cloud9.
He waits to throw down his turret, and when he does, he gets the information that they're right on the other side of the wall. Steel with another heroic round. That is 3 kills for him as he shuts down all the players from CT, but there's still 2 who slipped through A. And now Steel just making noise, trying to distract, but as Shinobi finds Nitro, it puts more pressure on him. Steel with the 4th, has to get the ace. He's going for the defuse. Knife is out as he runs out of pistol ammo, and the defuse will finish despite a slash. The heroics for nothing, Dan. A 13-8 finish.
Nice. That was awesome. That was really cool to see from... It's cool to see... I just wanted to believe that. Steel did so much work. He was so good at just... He dropped the lockdown. He's read the rotations really well. He got a 3K in heaven. You feel like he's done enough at that point. But apparently not. That was a great game. And I want to talk very quickly about that play that we saw too, because we saw that... Steel had his lockdown available at the rounds, and obviously every round has to be won. So you know that there's probably a play in mind for 100 Thieves on the attack where they're thinking that they can get some kind of a setup for that lockdown to try to use that to win them the round because it's so good at clearing space. And what kind of threw a massive wrench into that is the fact that you have Cloud9 going for what they call the Korean BBQ play, which is this. It was first this Vision Strikers maneuver where you have 4 players on the A site. You have Jet hugging the barrier, dashing instantly when that barrier goes down towards the left side of A short to get back Shower's control. Typically it's with a breach flash, but a lot of teams have been doing this with an omen flash instead. And you lock down the right side to get Jet really deep. Now, if you don't see anybody there, then which is kind of what happened. We get a 4-player rotation through the TP. So it's so cool to see the reaction of 100 Thieves positioned to rotate, even though they lost a couple players. And just the on-the-fly maneuvers there from 100 Thieves were pretty good, but Cloud9, man, they're on another. They are on another level right now. It really feels like Cloud9 are hitting this stride at the moment, which seems very hard to stop.
I like it. I like set plays. Let's see more of them. First round is done. That's bind in the books. If you're looking at 100 Thieves, what map do you want to go to next? That's the real question for me. I didn't see the maps at the start. Chat, if you got them, please let us know. But I feel like 100 Thieves showed us enough in that match to make me think they could take this to a game 3.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to be interesting to see what kinds of plays they bring out. I think Cloud9, they just have they're playing really good Valorant at the moment. They've got a really good mix of playing passively, playing, very aggressively, trying to throw the wrench into the works at the right moments. And that goes a really long way. It's very hard to read. And they're also very good at just saying, okay, we want to just play a little bit safer. We want to play for information and then make our decisions later in the round. And I think it's very hard to play against a team that's so well-rounded in that respect because you're never quite sure. You're never quite... it's never quite so reliable to guess what they're doing. So, yeah, it looks like we'll be going to Ascent next, which is Cloud9's pick.
I got some info here. So Cloud9 against Slimy Boogerman, they pick up 11 of the defending rounds. When they faced off against XSET, they picked up... Oh, they only had to play 6, but they won 5 of the 6 defending rounds. Against Envy on this map. This was the one map that they lost 13-11. Even on defense here, it was split. So we'll see what Cloud9 can do in this matchup, but I feel like having defense second is going to be something in favor of the squad. We'll see how they open it up. 100 Thieves, though, I want to see them just set the pace. Let's see them come out swinging. Don't hold tens down. Just flood the site. He's not going to. And also just the Killjoy battles. Look at this matchup. Are they going to go back to the Sovas? Is it going to be nothing but Killjoys here? I think Mitch is going to have a good game for himself for C9 on that character.
I agree. I'm going to get some music going here.
Do it, Dan.
Yeah. So one stat.
Reset us.
One stat that's standing out. And I got a question in the chat too. You guys were asking about tens. Who was it? Let me see who it was. Vincent. DDK talk about tens mechanics. His stats are unbelievable. So let's start with his stats. I do feel like tens does deserve to be the topic of maybe several videos in terms of mechanics because he's a standout in that sense. I agree. And we're seeing 27 for 12 in that game of Bind. He's on the Jet as well. And, I actually love seeing him play Reyna. That's my favorite just because Reyna's gameplay is pretty simple in terms of how it works. It really comes down to being much like Jet with a dash, getting the kill and being able to dismiss out and creating setups for that, knowing your angles, being reliable, feeling, understanding as well that you have that confidence on the server because you truly objectively believe that you are the best individual in the server when it comes to mechanics. And I was talking about this yesterday on Immortal Minds as well, actually, that now I've gone back into competing, I'm kind of being reminded about certain things.
Yeah. And
one of those things I'm being reminded about is whenever you're playing at a top level, you are thinking to yourself, okay, I'm in the server. I believe I can beat anybody. You have to believe that because otherwise, what are you doing? You're going to run into some problems there from a confidence perspective. You're going to lose, a lot of fights. You might hesitate in certain fights because you don't feel like you belong. So you got to feel like you belong against some of the best players in the world. So you got to believe you can compete. But at the same time, there is a level of realism in your brain where you're like, this guy's kind of scary, or this guy is kind of difficult to deal with. And if you want to be the kind of player that does what Tens does and plays in his roles, that can't be the kind of player that you are. You have to you genuinely have to objectively understand that you are the best in a realistic sense too. Because all the pros know how they stack up. They know this guy is a bit better than me in terms of the mechanics or hitting the shots or playing some of the angles. And in Valorant, you get afforded lots of opportunities to play lots of different roles and to play the game in many different ways. But for Tens, he's the guy that's gonna shoot you in the face, and that's his identity, and he does that so well. He is so consistent.
I knew he was a special player when I saw him top frag on Viper. It wasn't even close. He had 8 more kills than the closest player in the lobby. I was like, if you can do that with Viper's kit, on attack. Like imagine what he can do on a duelist. And then we got to see all of the duelists. He busted out the Raze shortly after. We saw him like find his home on Jett. And I think preparing for this squad is the scariest because you don't know what TenZ is going to run against you. You have a good feeling if you look at the Spike, you go through all of the previous rosters of what he's been running. He's relatively consistent. But say it's late in a tournament, this is a guy who could just pull out a pocket pick and totally catch you off guard. He is deadly, I'd say, on 3, if not 4 different characters in this game. And it's kind of interesting to see who else is going to be in that same tier as a threat of a duelist coming against you.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I'm really curious if there's any pocket picks that exist for TenZ outside of some of the duelists, or I mean that's going to be his role on the team, but there's lots of different looks for it. I don't think we're going to see him going to a Phoenix or anything really other than Jett and Reyna, but I kind of want to see it just as a believer in him as a really skilled player, because I do feel impressed by quite a lot of players and how they've been able to reinvent themselves. And not saying that he needs to do that in any sense, but I think that he's probably a little better than maybe people think that he is, in the sense that you can get typecast really easily. It's very easy to be like, oh, TenZ just takes these, crazy no-brain ego fights all the time and he wins them. And so therefore you kind of assume that because you're not seeing him play maybe for more drawn out, more intelligent plays, that he's not capable of doing that. But I actually don't think that that's the case with a lot of these top duelists.
I think what changed my brain on that, because I was actually wondering, I was like, is this just all aim, no brain? Like, is he just brute forcing his way through? And then he streamed one of the early rounds of a tournament, and his comms were so clean. You couldn't hear the rest of the team, but I could understand everything they were talking about based on his reactions and how much he was contributing. It's not that he's just following Shinobi's rule, by the way. He is a guy who says, okay, I think I can get us an entry here. If we can follow it up, do you have a flash? And he'll ask these questions to make sure the rest of the team is ready to fall on his openings. These are never opportunities where he's just charging out, blindly getting a kill, and then the rest of the team is making a decision. These are set plays in most scenarios. And the guy, he just has faith in himself to actually pull it off 10 times out of 10. You look at the numbers, feels like 75% of the time, Dan, it's working.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's definitely a very intuitive player as well, and yeah, it's working out for him. And the cool thing in this game too is that you do have to be able to put the time in, and you have to be able to be able to adapt to meta shifts that are going to be happening really quickly. And compared to CS, it's going to be so much faster. The meta is going to turn around, and week to week in some cases, it might be that the meta is shifting, and what you have to kind of be able to read about the game is going to change. So I'm curious, if he's able to hold up in that kind of an environment as time goes on, as there's more and more competitive teams entering the fray, because I mean, that's something that I think there's a lot of CS players that mechanically were really, really good, and they would be able to get really good in certain metas, but they wouldn't really have staying power in the longer term, and their performances might actually dip. But as we're waiting for the next game, I actually have the Complexity Gen G map 2 up as well. Looked like Complexity won the first map, and Gen G, they're off to a good start though.
I love this Complexity team. I feel like this is the upset squad of the tournament so far. If you guys haven't been following it, they've taken down NRG. They took down T1 to kick off this group to get here in the upper bracket matchup against Gen G. And it was a pretty clean win on Haven that just went down. And it's not just Sean. Yes, if you were on the Spike, you saw Sean's 4Ks, his 5Ks, I should call it ace on the Reyna. But this is a squad that has a number of contributors, and not everyone is on the everyday fan of Valorant's radar yet. I think Complexity is a squad to look at. If you look at what they've accomplished in their Counter-Strike world, very similar. Not huge household names that build up that roster, but over time, the team as a whole has climbed the ranks and is now competing at the top of the sport. How long will it take for this Complexity team to climb? That's still a question, because we're just watching, I believe this is their first tournament with Jonah P in the lineup, as well as Sharky.
Yeah, it is going to be very interesting, because Complexity is such a huge brand. They really care about being the most elite. They care about winning and being number one. So that's in their DNA. So and I think, bring up Counter-Strike as an example of that. As Valorant grows, it's going to be the case that Complexity is a team where that I think is going to be the same situation. So these players will have a lot to prove in that environment, because it isn't a team where you can kind of mess about, and it's not a team where you can afford to not have great performances. So I'm really curious to see what this lineup in particular does. It's interesting to see some of the like XP3, for example, is a name that's been around in CS forever. So yeah, curious to see if he's able to reinvent himself coming into Valorant, as so many players have from different games. I'm gonna quickly check.
I've definitely seen the XP3 before. What's his background in the CS world? Was he just a Mountain Dew League player? What can you tell us about him if you remember anything?
Oh god, I'd have to like bring up all the teams that he's been on, because he's around for so long. But actually, I can quickly do it actually, because it's probably easier than me trying to remember half of them. Let's see. I believe he's a French Canadian, or maybe he's French and moved across. Yes, he was a French player that's moved to the US and played in a lot of the different teams in the US. But I think he's been inactive for quite some time. Let's see. He was most recently on Denial, Winter Fox, so some of the more kind of tier 2 teams at the time, Elevate. He has been on some better teams, like against All Authority in the old days, like in 2006. He was playing with AAA, and back in 2006, Against All Authority was the top brand in the French esports scene. They had the best teams in almost every area for France. So he's experienced the top level, but in CS:GO, I think he was mostly hovering around tier 2.
Understood. I saw someone in the chat, Mogul says, I hate Complexity's logo jersey branding. As a Cowboys fan, I take that personally, and that's offensive, Mogul. You can get out of here. There's enough black and red teams in esports. I felt like it was a brilliant decision to join Jerry Jones and his $8 billion on the Dallas Cowboys to go with the blue and white.
Yeah, it's hard to complain about that. Yeah, it's definitely something that's always a bit weird, I guess, kind of rebranding. I know I feel like the one that people were most upset with was Evil Geniuses, just because I think so many people had because Evil Geniuses originally did such a good job with their branding. I think people got really invested in it, and so to change it felt, I think, like a huge departure from that initial identity. But would you say that was like the biggest rebrand that you were like also maybe like, I'm not sure how I feel about this?
Thinking, God, that's bad. No, yeah. Take that, EG. No, I thought the EG rebrand was a bad move. I'd say most of the other ones have been an upgrade, though, because let's be honest, guys, at the start of esports, we did not pay our graphic designers well, and it showed. So I think most of the rebrands currently have been pretty nice. But EG, I'd love to see him go back to the classic StarCraft colors. Show me the old school jerseys, the first ever ones with Monster tattooed on the shoulder. I'm trying to think of new brands that have come out, and there's not a ton that have blown me away either. It feels like we're in this middle ground, Dan, of we're just a creativity slump at the moment. 100 Thieves did great. They brought the emoji straight from my phone onto their jersey. So shout out to those guys.
Yeah, they've done a really good job. I just want to make a quick amendment, actually, because I was talking about the KBBQ strat being C9s, but it's actually TSMs. And with that said as well, I've also seen many teams using it and different variations of it at this point. So it's not so secret as it was.
You're not giving away TSM's secret sauce here, because many people are doing this these days. Also, it's Vision Strikers to begin with, so we'll give it back to them.
Yeah, man. Everyone is watching Vision. If anyone's watching any Asian Counter-Strike, I did it again. I don't know why Counter-Strike always flows out my mouth after I say Asian something. It doesn't make sense. but yeah, in Asian Valorant, I feel like that's the team that people watch, because they're tactically, they're so insane. So it's like everyone wants to get that flavor from the East to see how to like mix things up. What is a completely different region doing, and they are the go-to for that. So it's not too surprising.
I've been bigging up this Complexity squad, who's about to go 0-5. All right, finally XP3 with a kill in the feed. But
just want to cut you off for a second. We're jumping into the next one now. 100 Thieves Cloud9 just started on Ascent, so I feel like for continuity's sake, we're underway.
Now, this is let's say game number 4 that they're going into after losing the pistol round, the opening pistol round of a game for C9. And with 10s down, he got some information, but this could spell trouble. Defense still with plenty of players up. Turret's going to slow down the plant. And C9's going to lose relics. So both your duelists are out. You've done a little bit of damage to hold on, and Mitch is going to convert that into 2 kills. We're okay, Dan. We're okay.
Yeah. We'll see if they can somehow hold on to this playing backside. It's going to be quite awkward. The breach flash is able to at least get some 1v1s going there for Vice, but I think the health advantage, and it's just very difficult there. Like, you're so constrained with how your peaks will work. That's 100 Thieves will close that one down, but a bit of extra spike money for Cloud9 at least. And Cloud9, it used to be the case back in the Pot Flash Invitational that they struggled actually on the defense on this map. And so it's been interesting to see sort of the innovations that have happened since then. So I'm kind of looking forward to that second half to see what they're up to. But in terms of the attacking side, I'm curious to see where the emphasis is going to be for both of these teams, because it can be also partly a response to if one team decides to go heavy gelato control type of play from the defense. So you kind of want to figure out what the defender game plan is for the opposing team sometimes before you execute what you want to do, because you don't want to run into stuff.
Spectres are out. We see a lot of stingers on board from both squads. Is this the new wave? Are we seeing SMGs from both sides every single time now in round 2?
Hey man, the stinger is pretty insane for 1,000 credits. It's actually so insane. I was calling it in like the first few weeks, and no one believed me, but here we are. Everyone's on that Stinger life. I've seen people doing Stinger runs through matchmaking, Stinger to Radiant, whatever, stuff like that. So it's especially great on a Reyna or a Jet, because you can really quickly get in people's faces, and you just need the one kill to be able to reset off afterwards. So, and its rate of fire is unbelievable. So it almost feels like you're at a disadvantage unless you hit the headshot with a rifle. In fact, you kind of are, because the DPS is going to be higher to the body with a stinger. It's going to kill you so fast, so you have to hit that headshot straight away. So it's pretty deadly in the right spots.
Dan, if you can, when you get a moment, refresh the stream. See if you can get it a little bit more up to date, because I'm ahead of you. I'm in the future over here, Dan.
Nice.
And I'm loving what I'm seeing at 100 Thieves.
What's your clock? Where your clock at?
Yep, there we go.
Nice.
Now we're all even Steven. Loving it. Okay, so let's just start here. Pistol round goes to 100 Thieves. Asuna, he turns away from the flash second round, gives them the edge over on the A site for round 2. Round 3 was Dicey's round. He just runs up the gut and tears them apart with the Bulldog. And now we've got a 4th round coming up. It's the first time Cloud9 is buying. And you look at the guns, we've got a Stinger in the mix, a Bulldog in the mix, an Ares in the mix here from Steel. But still, I feel like on defense, knowing the angles of this map, this is an arsenal you could definitely go 4-0 to start things off with and walk away with 5 ARs.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many ways to play it. Unfortunately, for Dicey, Tens is going to catch him out straight away. That will initiate their push, and they're straight in the site here. So the retake is going to be kind of tough, but one key thing is that Sova is alive here for 100 Thieves. Really important that Hiko keeps himself alive. Those recon darts will be massive going forward. So trading on through is actually, and there's one of those recon darts. So they know exactly where Vice is. The flash comes through because of that, and he is just unable to hold on. Beautiful retake there at the B site. And the B site is one of those ones where you can lose it pretty quickly, but retaking it, if you have the right stuff, is not too bad. And the same is said for the A site on this map. Retaking the A site is fine if you are able to have the right utility to at least get tree control when you're coming back in. If you can get the tree control, it actually is not that bad at all to retake the A site, because at that point, the only position that the attackers who are defending the spike will have is site itself or A main, and A main is very easy to smoke off. So both of the sites here are pretty retakeable so long as you have the right gear to go. So I'm liking that we saw 100 Thieves there with the protocols to kind of pull out, make sure that they were able to retake and not just try to put the stoppage on when it would have failed.
And want to credit Asuna on that Reyna 7-1 making his impact felt through the middle of the previous round. The stinger kills, got some information on the retake as well. At the start of this one, taken down though by tens as Dicey trades it out with the operator, where you're going to see the Sova ult from Hiko continuing to shut down the presence of the attackers on A. So just like that, you're looking at a 5-0 start despite losing one. This is 100 Thieves and a great setup again, Dan. And I'm looking here. What can you do at B? Well, there's turrets waiting for you. There's 3 players playing deep angles, and they're just forcing Cloud9 to play through the hard way.
Yeah, that's a main control fight at the beginning. Is such a key exchange between both teams, and it can really dictate a lot. So we'll see how that evolves. But yeah, Shinobi's not really got that much she's able to do here. Some economic damage would be really nice. And there we go. Able to take down Hiko at the least. And maybe there's more in store. No, Dicey will be able to prevent him from doing more damage. So yeah, we'll keep our eyes on that A main dynamic, because it's something whereby tactically you may not have the answer for what the other team is doing. So if that's the case and you feel like you're really getting behind because of the fact that you're trying to force the issue there, you may have to give it up. And if you have to do that and make that concession, that can be a problem to have to do that. So that means that you're underprepared against the team you're playing against. And that's not a good sign. And I'm curious if that's the case here. We'll have to see if Cloud9 can adjust.
Do it, Dicey. Get aggro on the peaks. Let's get weird. Everyone else complains about the jet with the operator. It's my favorite part of casting Valorant, Dan. You know each team has one. It's going to happen at some point. You just got to see who has the hotter hand that day, who's being more effective with the aggro peaks and the escapes. And it looks like the Observer holding a little long there on the B side. Let's go over to the real action, shall we? That's kind of been one of the notes I have to say. It's consistently popping up on Reddit, on my Twitter feed. The observers in this game still don't have it 100% figured out. And I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus here, but I'm excited about year 2, year 3 of Valorant, when Riot has like what Blizzard built for the Overwatch League, with like a 20-man team all getting the best angles.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in this game too, there's, like in CS, there's a lot of learning to do, to be like you know, for everybody, for the analysts and the commentators, and like everybody who's watching the game, as well as the pros themselves. You know, as you say, like eventually we're going to get a pretty good framework that's going to allow the observing to be a pretty high quality, pretty consistently, even though we'll have, I think, you know, lots of surprising compositions and, you know, a lot of variance in that sense. So I'm looking forward to that. I think already, actually, things are, given how new the game is, I'm actually super impressed. Like, comparing it with where CS was at in its first year, CSGO in its first year was a complete mess.
I can't imagine. Halo, we had to mod Xboxes just to even try and show you a third-person shot.
Oh my God.
Relics is going to be handed one, as it's an aggressive peek from Nitro on the flank. That makes this even easier to defend. But Steel again with the Vandal. Well, AK headies all day, gets the info against a Frenzy. That's going to be an easy enough round. Steel, we mentioned this guy. He's been out of pro level play in CS forever. He's someone that I think would have still been competing today at a top tier level if he didn't have the iBuy power issues. And now he gets his chance with 100 Thieves in Valorant. This is one of the guys I'm most excited to see more content from. I know he's been on Immortal Minds in the past. What's your takeaway, Dan? If you could sum up this guy, how would you describe Steel to someone who has never seen or met the man?
Yeah, I remember I did a podcast with Steel a long time ago as well. And, you know, one of the things that he said was just that he is someone that can go to any professional game if he wants to, or any professional esport title, and probably do pretty well. But the problem is that he only wanted to play CS. Like, CS was the only game that gave him the kind of stimulation intellectually and otherwise that he needed. And so for him to kind of find this in Valorant is amazing. And given the fact that he is someone that is so competitive and is built for this. He's built for this, but he was denied the ability to play competitively for years after the scandal in 2015. And instead, what he was kind of relegated to was building up teams that eventually, like, he'd build up players, he'd create systems, he would, you know, coach people through to make his teams, you know, win. But at the end of the day, he could never play any majors. He could never play any Valve-sponsored events. So when those players would get good, when the team would have success, people would just peace out. So he would just build up teams and then they would just go nowhere. So I can't imagine how endlessly frustrating that must have been, especially how hard it can be to work with some players. and how frustrating that can be. And he just stuck with it. He is a treasure in the North American Counter-Strike scene, and he's also someone that's made a lot of incredible content. His YouTube channel has a lot of stuff that's not just content about how to throw smokes and stuff like that, but it's fundamentals, it's principles that he'll actually teach people about. So he has a very good understanding, and he understands how to win as well. So he's someone that's I guess the last thing I'll say is in CS, before the scandal happened, he was leading the best team in North America at that time. So.
And for those who don't know what we're talking about, welcome to the show. This is Immortal Minds. Dan has recorded, 26 episodes so far?
Yeah, 25, I think this is. So, yeah. And we have a lot of VOD reviews as well, so lots of content that's been flying out there.
Yeah, so Steel was part of iBuyPower's match fixing. So when you were saying throw smokes, Dan, I thought you were just going to end on throw and just drop it off there.
Yeah.
He was part of the match fixing, made a few $100s off of some gambleable skins that you could do back in the CS days, and was hit with a ban hammer that ended his CS career.
Oh my God, yeah.
So that was back in 2016, I feel like. So for 4 years of frustration, he was just kind of waiting around in the CS world before finding this title. And as OGs of esports, we're so happy to see him back able to compete, because there's nothing like it. When you're a competitor, you can be a GM, you can do all the business side, but you are not going to get the same joy as when you play and you walk away with a W.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy you said for a few $100, because arguably what he lost out on was maybe north of $500,000 of salary, because that's how good he was. So it's a bitch.
No shortcuts, kids. No shortcuts. Even if you're not making the big bucks you feel you're entitled to, play the long game. If not, find a better business partner and get yourself some cash. All right, let's go back into the action here as we take a look at the numbers. Cloud9, I have harped on their defense on this map. Their attack has not been incredible. And so far, 6-1 scoreline just shows just the amount of struggle they're having here. Lockdowns are going to be going down on both sides, I assume. How do you cancel a Killjoy ultimate? Answer with a Killjoy ultimate of your own. Steel already popped his, and they're defending that well as Nitro finds 10s.
Yeah, it's such I mean, look how much of a power play that is. There's a 35, 36, 37 seconds left. The lockdown is forcing anyone away from the cap position. They wanted to hit the A site. 18 seconds left. There's still some Killjoy utility, a smoke freshly dropped on the show point. This is really tough for Cloud9. They are so far behind here, and they're just going to get slaughtered.
And they did invest their own lockdown there. That's what kind of blew me away. Is you threw down the lockdown, but you do it at 22 seconds. It means you got to run onto the site with your opponent able to just hang out with you for the first 8 of those 20 seconds. Trouble for Cloud9 as the A attack doesn't work, and they seem to be favoring it at the start of every round. That's where Dicey's been playing, and he is 10-3. Asuna has been moving around the map, tends to play middle with that A support always on his mind.
Yeah, and it feels like right now what's Cloud9 is so good at doing on binds to people, they are on the receiving end of that exact kind of thing from 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves active here. They've been consistently doing a great job at A main control. And it's about the investment here. Nice turn there from the flash from Asuna. But it's about the investment. He knows he has one isolated, and he can just dismiss out. And the investment typically is just always just going in 100 Thieves' favor. They always spend less and they get more than their opposition. And it's a fast switch here towards B, but again, with the weaponry that exists here, not too much that they can do. And Ascent is a really hard map, I think, to play. It's very reminiscent of Dust 2 in the way that the defender rotations work. But if you're always off on the back foot at the beginning, just like Dust 2, imagine if you're losing long control at the beginning of every round as the tease. Maybe you're losing a player or 2 players each time. That's kind of what's been happening towards A main. A main is effectively the kind of long A of Dust 2, but on Ascent. So yeah, you got to be able to find ways to, if you can't win that, you got to find ways to force the defender rotation in a way that you can then manipulate later or get advantages from. And right now, Cloud9 have been unable to really accomplish that. We'll see if they can do something different here. I mean, there's no ultimates available for anybody, so that's interesting. Hiko is 1 orb away, so I'd be curious to see if he makes the play for it. Doesn't look like he will.
Yeah, that's Soval. He'll just look for the kill. Trying to play deep. Asuna again, first blood. So it's 100 Thieves. I feel like this is 4 rounds in a row where I've seen first pick goes to the green team.
Yeah, it's looking so good. And typically in these spots, what you want to do is just reset into a play for position. You can't really spend any more time looking for smaller wins or picks. You have to kind of group up and try to trade onto position at worst. And mid is usually a given. It's usually for free, and that's going to be the case here as well. Obviously, there's a bit of utility there from Killjoy, and you can see they're just pinging it so that they want to set up first before giving any sound cues or warnings to their opponents as to what they're doing. It looks like they were able to walk past it, actually. So they are completely unknown to their opposition, and they're in spawn. This is actually genius.
I was really confused by it because I thought Asuna did a jump peek and would have saw them pushing up middle. But as soon as I saw Hiko cross, I was like, they have no idea. They loaded up A, but this push is now up the gut. They get the pick on the flank, and now they're going to be able to overwhelm. It's just Steel deep in the B site. He is going to have a nano swarm at his feet, trying to trade out 1 kill before he falls. He's fully paranoid, but still up in the back somehow. And Steel is buying so much time. Meanwhile, Dicey finds the rotation of 10s through the gut, and Shinobi is going to finally get the pick that allows this spike to be planted. But they're down to 2 versus 3 defenders here.
Yeah, this is so awkward. What is there left to work with here for Cloud9? They don't have all that much. It's going to be down to just making the gunplay work out. The dark cover there is going to really help out Mitch. He doesn't really have anybody to play off of. And with 3 players coming in, you can see 2 want to walk up the sidewalk here. Another dark cover coming through that's going to make life more awkward here on the site. And at this point, it's just really down to who can get the first string of kills. Mitch needed that. That needed to go Mitch's way, but Hiko is going to find a nice lineup. So good attempt there from Cloud9. It's great calling too, understanding that they could exploit the placement of that alarm bot in mid. That was awesome. But unfortunately, it's just so heartbreaking that they can't convert off of something that's so... They caught their opponents so badly off guard, and they couldn't convert still. That is not a good sign.
And they're poor again, Dan. So trouble here for the 100 Thieves crew. Let's take a look at the replay. Hiko finding Mitch and then continues the spray to clean up Shinobi. It kind of went south before that, though. As soon as 10s went down, he was hanging out in market. Dicey's catches him on the rotation. I knew things were in trouble. And also props to Steel. We kind of mentioned him at the start. He was there with all 4 hitting the B site, took out 1, injured a second, and delayed all of them, buying time for his teammates.
Yeah, trying to mix things up with a quick explosion here. And Reyna's so annoying. But, eventually we'll get dealt with.
Thank goodness she re-challenged. And what sensitivity do you need to play on to dodge these breach flashes? Because 100 Thieves has been dodging them all map long.
Right, that's a very good question. It feels so hard to dodge them, honestly, even with a fast sense. Hiko, the lurk here from him. The timing is perfect.
What's the first walk by? Darts it out. That spike down. No need to challenge. Last player is in the back. You got the info, and Dicey does it with the pistol.
Damn. Cloud9 are looking completely shut down on this one.
I don't know if this is the right comp for attack. They've looked really good on defense with it. I was looking through, and yes, this is the exact same comp they ran against Xset, where they dominated that game. But here on the attack, 1 round out of 11, you're looking at an 11-1/2, unless they're able to somehow pull this one out.
Yeah.
Finally, a fair fight when it comes to weapons, though. They've been poor most of this game.
Yeah, it is interesting, kind of the fact that they've not really got some of the value that they want off of their breach, it feels like. We haven't seen any key ultimates. The flashes to force 100 Thieves off angles haven't been as impactful because they're able to get themselves back on the angles with their own utility.
That's
nice
brilliant.
Paranoia. Oh god, Hiko is going to just own everybody there with the Hunter's Fury, and it just gets worse. And again, consistently, A main challenges have put Cloud9 behind. We talked about this before. The narrative stays exactly the same.
What an incredible... I mean, Asuna's playing the B side perfectly as well. I mean, look at that. The Lear has the angle set up before he peaks, and then you're not walking your way through this, man. He's got another Lear for you. 10s, you can't opt the Lear.
Yeah, such great positional play. Just like, how do you deal with that? Just rotating through all these spots. You never know which angle he's going to be on, which peak he's going to take. Yeah, Asuna completely agree. He's playing really, really well. But it really comes down, like Cloud9 needed to find a way to deal with this A main situation, because because as I said, like there's it's okay if you it's okay to just hold your hands up and be like, okay, well the other team is better prepared for this. But they have, I think, tried to make adjustments, and the adjustments have failed. And it would have been nice to see them go to some other stuff and maybe try to condition their opponents to want to invest early round in other things, and then come back to A main control as part of your default, maybe later on. And that's the way some teams would do it, because because right now 100 Thieves know it's pretty reliable for them to want to invest in A main early on, which means that they're not able to invest at that timing of the round elsewhere. So there are other openings for Cloud9 that can be played with, but unfortunately for them, they just haven't quite figured it out. And sometimes you think the adjustment's simple, and that can overcommit you.
I was reading in the chat, man, they need to win pistol, says Swansea. I agree, Swansea. They have not been doing that. It's time, C9. Win a pistol round. I don't know what it is about pistol rounds that just throws off some of these top teams. I mean, Shinobi just getting pushed all the way out of tree is hunted down. And 100 Thieves just, I don't know if they're just executing their plans better, if their shots are warm. I'm looking at the mini map, and they're just establishing dominance wherever they want.
Yeah, pretty much. It is. I was just thinking about it. Like sometimes when you see a team where, like if you look at the first map, the only individual standout was really TenZ. Dicey looked pretty good, and Asuna as well. But just generally speaking, it seemed pretty even. It wasn't like someone was really blowing up the server. But right now, 100 Thieves looks like they are that team. Like every player is just like making Cloud9 just look like they are lesser players, or tier 2 players. And Steel might be able to actually clutch this one. He's got 2 bullets left. Quick tap on the spike there to see if he can somehow lure out TenZ, but he's going to make the run towards A. So, this is kind of risky. It's just a long channel. That's not going to work out. But just to finish the point, it's like when your tactics and strategies are just not working, you all are going to look like noobs against a top tier team. And because they are just going to have all the advantages in all of the fights, so they're just going to crush the fights. And that's kind of what's happening in this game so far.
Yeah, and that came down to a 1v1. A 1v1 that Steel aimed just a little too low to win there with the Sheriff. It was a headshot. You got a different story, and we are finishing 13-1. Instead, we've got a little bit of life left in Cloud9. We mentioned their strength on defense. The only time they didn't win their defense, at least when you're comparing round to round, was against Envy in the match that they went on to win to close out the open qualifier. But this is C9's strength here on Ascent, and it's a map that they have been very good on. If you look at their last 10 matches, Ascent has not been a problem for them outside of the Envy game.
Yeah. We get a big focus around middle for both teams here too, and I'm looking. I mean, I would love to see a lot more rounds in this map. I'm not sure if we're going to get it, because I do want to see what Cloud9's attack looks or defense looks like against 100 Thieves' attack.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, it's a good defense on this cat position. That's going to work out really nicely. You can see that 100 Thieves a little bit punished for staying with all of the ghosts. And
Relic's just popped right there. He just shows you a little bit of what he can bring to the table. And Vice will close it out. I think Relics is definitely going to be a player that everyone is watching. Everyone's looking at, considering, does he deserve a top 10 position in North America? How far down is he? When you look at the duelist, very few of them have been playing as consistent as he is. The one critique I have is I've only seen him on Raze recently, and I don't know if that's just the current meta and if things will change up, but he's played every role in the game if you look at the start of Cloud9. And I feel like him on a duelist has definitely been my favorite to watch so far. I want to see what happens if Raze ever gets nerfed to the ground. Where does Relics go next? Because he's been pulling her out on almost every single map the last 2 events I've seen.
Yeah, it's I definitely have something to add to that. But we have an A main kind of foray from Cloud9, so they've got that early control, and so that tells them quite a lot. And they also have a heavy B setup at the moment, so they're kind of blind in mid and catwalk. But there was a dark cover that was thrown by Shinobi just a second ago towards that cap position, and we will get a rotation back there as well from tens. So
as long as Killjoy's alive, I guess in this patch it doesn't matter. The alarm bot will spot mid as well. They should be very ready at B.
Yeah, and here comes this big flank as well from Relics. Talk of the devil, and he shall appear. That's the problem. There's a couple reasons that's the problem. We'll maybe go into that in a moment, because the push is that they force the push in. They know that Cloud9 know exactly what's going on, but sometimes you just got to make it work. I don't know that they're going to make it work. They're going to try to route the push through the mids and spawn and see if this is going to work. And Ten's actually, I think he tried to dash into position to stop them, but maybe that actually gave up a kill that needed not be given.
12 seconds. 100 Thieves running out of time. They got to force A, and Relics pulls out the boom boom. Not the spike player. Yes. All right. So Relics is he's able to clutch up, holding that A site after getting the first pick. The rocket slows it all down. 100 Thieves trying to pull something out of nothing, though. And I love the decisiveness. They waited forever, but then all of a sudden they knew exactly what the plan was, and they tried to hit watching every single angle. Everyone played their role right. They just didn't land the shot against the ultimate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting too, because what does that round also say to 100 Thieves? Because Relics was confident enough after they took early A main control to push Gelato later on. So the pacing was read there and beaten by Cloud9, but there's a 3-man setup here for Cloud9. And they've got the Paranoid that's ready to go. I think the Paranoid was just popped, which will prevent 100 Thieves from moving forward and challenging for the moment. There's that couple Cloud Bursts down as well, which is also isolating players who are trying to capitalize in this position. But Tens is still holding on to this with the help of his teammates. So you can see this A main, A main can be where teams live and die. It is so much like Long on Dust 2 in Counter-Strike. Sometimes teams are just going to want to invest everything in trying to take it because it can be so impactful to win it. But so hey, Chris, we might get a game here, which looks...
Yeah, man. I told you Cloud9's defense is good. Dan, I was running the numbers this morning. They are so strong, especially on this map. I mean, it's split and it's Ascent, that their defense is ridiculous. And as I mentioned, they, I believe, 11-1 X-set on their defense on this same map.
The thing that we need to be looking at now is what is Steel going to do with his lockdown. There's nothing in terms of Ultimus unless Mitch picks up an orb for them to answer that. And the B main aggression. So this is a really interesting one, because there's a couple reasons why you'd want to do this for Cloud9. It didn't work out too well for them, and Weiss is also pushing Catwalk at the same time. Yikes, that's going to be put them in a very bad spot.
And that was Tens, who was playing A main last round very aggressively. He was actually hiding in Wine, shut down the Jet, then got aggressive with Shinobi at A main. This time tries to jump out with Relics down B main. And the insta-punish was waiting there as Asuna just had his sights trained on him. After that, the rest of the team tried to collapse to support, but it wasn't in time, and it was early frags for 100 Thieves. Now you're looking at a 4 versus 2. Lockdown, not available on the defensive end, is available for the planners, 100 Thieves.
It's going to take a miracle here for anything to go Cloud9's way, I feel like, and Mitch will get taken down. And it's interesting because you have to, like, the kind of the calling, the mind games behind calling is really, really interesting. For example, here it's the case that there's been all this A main control, and Cloud9 just completely shut down A main. They won the round at A main at the beginning of the round. So you have to ask yourself the question, do we think that the other team is going to try to open up the round this way again and invest a lot of players there? Or do we think they're going to try to do something completely different and just focus on B main because our A main setup is so strong? And because we showed 3 players ready to respond to A main, does that mean that we can just 5v2 around the another spot around the map? And so Cloud9 decided to go for the B main push, and I feel like that is definitely a risky play, because given that 100 Thieves just got completely shafted on the A main push, it feels like playing for B main early on to see what you can get is definitely something that could work out to try to reset the situation. And that's and so you can have a setup there where your plan is to get kills, but it felt like it was a little bit half-hearted, and that's what cost them, because 100 Thieves are just all there ready to go.
Lack of a flash on that aggressive push could have cost them at B as well, but I love this. Look at Tens on the minimap, guys. He just lost his fight last time, dashing forward. This time, he's saying, come to me. Had the operator out ready for a peek after an insta-paranoid to start the round. Equipment is gone. You've got Tens to pop his ultimate. 100 Thieves with one ability, causing a little bit of chaos. And now the Reyna with the peek down A main is causing rotation off of B. And 100 Thieves is still in their spawn, basically.
Yeah, they're looking to just delay the rotation to the B site there with Asuna, but the operator is the perfect response to a wandering Reyna. And now it has to work. Like, once that Killjoy ult goes down in the spot like that, oh no, that is fantastic. You love to see that. Tens just blasting everyone with the daggers. I don't think they expected that. Just through the window as well.
There's the window. Look out for the windows.
So many people hate those windows.
Oh, beautiful stuff. Beautiful. It looked like it could have been messy. Had to invest the ult. And that ult is put to use. The double operators, though, one on each site, seems to be the plan moving forward here. And here's how the shots connected. This is Dicey's POV of the action that went above Tens after the flash. That's the best part of this. They're trying to get out, but everyone is hit with that breach flash. The breach did not do any work on the attack. We should remind everyone, defensive flash coming through.
Yeah, that was just such a beautiful combo. And well, get back to the A main aggression, it looks like, for 100 Thieves. And we can see that Cloud9 have nobody anywhere near the A side at all. It looks like maybe even, is there a pause that's going to happen, or is this, it's kind of weird to see three people kind of in the defensive spawn right now.
I think they're maybe just playing around a lockdown. There's definitely a pause for the moment. 11 seconds left and the players are able to move.
All right, yeah.
Something weird is happening.
Oh yeah, you kind of don't want to show anything on stream by accident. I don't know how long the delay is, but
we'll wait this one out. Don't worry, chat. We're here with you. Shout out to all the old school console kids. Saw some resentment coming from the Immortal Minds account. Represent console world. Don't worry. You can all be like me and upgrade to the PC with time, and then return back to the Xbox with the Xbox X and the PlayStation 5, finally able to support games in 60 frames per second.
Even Golden Boy started learning how to play with a mouse and keyboard for this game.
It was a rough time there for a little bit. Xbox 360 years though, Dan. Whew, let me tell you, primo. Xbox One had a few years off.
I've always been pure.
It was clearly from the UK, shouting out a former professional Call of Duty player who has not competed in 5 years. All right, we go back to the game, Dan. Or will we? We're still on 11 seconds. Tactical timeout. So when First Strike got announced, I actually read through the entire rule book. Did you know your coach can talk to you during a tactical timeout, unlike multiple other tournaments?
Oh, but you only get one, right?
You can only get one.
So which is kind of weird, because that means that there's two halves. One attacking, one defensive. Feels like you should get at least two, right?
Oof. I like the decision that you only get one. What are you going to adjust? Your attack or your defense?
That's a lie.
Fair. Think about it. I tried to go with the counter argument here.
It is an interesting choice because like there's lots of different ways you can go with all this stuff, I think. And I don't have time to talk about it, so that's great. So we'll go back into the game.
We're going to a game 3. You got so much time.
Yeah, I think there are some really interesting points around this where Valorant will stand out against all the other esports in some of the coaching, in the way the coaching will work. But it's a more main presence from Cloud9 this round. Again, they are standing on the precipice, on the cliff edge here, with 6-12 at the moment in the current score. Tree control is gained by 100 Thieves. The rotation comes through from Cloud9. And looks like 100 Thieves will commit up tree.
First blood, it's Asuna on the Reyna charging in, but operator holds strong for now. That was an up close peek there from Mitch to stop the flood. And with that kill, Mitch is able to keep everyone out of glass, holds heaven control as Shinobi was lurking on the site. A quick whip from Dicey, and he is down. Now the ultimates come flying on both ends.
Yeah, this actually doesn't look as bad for Cloud9 as it could have done, all things considered, but it really does come down to what Mitch is able to accomplish there from the rafters. And similarly, his teammate, what can they do to play off one another, create moments, create distractions? Steel is able to deal with Vice, though, as Mitch just falls back. So presumably, well, I was going to say, like, you kind of have to go for it. And, well, feels like 100 Thieves should have won this. So I'm kind of happy that they do. And we'll be on to the next map. But yeah, Cloud9, they really struggled here. I'm really curious what they think the problem is versus, and if they go back to VOD review, what they would actually see. Because it's usually kind of different. You'll think that, we lost the game because of these things, but then you look at the VOD and you're like, oh, actually, that wasn't as nearly as impactful as X, Y, and Z. So for me, it was about A main on the first half and just their inability to kind of win control there, and then just never making that concession and adapting out of it.
All right, I'm trying to find the rules again, Dan, just to clarify.
Nice.
Is it one timeout per map or match? And I believe it was match.
Oh, no, surely not. Surely it's got to be at least a map.
Right?
One per match, it seems like madness.
How do you stop a coach from watching the mini-map all game? The players never have access to the mini-map. So is the coach actually allowed to talk in-game? I need to confirm all this because I read it like 4 weeks ago when it first came out.
Yeah, so I guess I can just go into some of the points here because Valorant is an interesting game because in the future, I think what will make it stand out a lot. I think there's going to be some similarities, and this might sound a bit crazy, but some similarities to StarCraft Brood War Pro League in Korea, because in the StarCrafts, you got to keep your build orders tight to your chest, and when you're playing the Pro League, the matchups ahead of time, so you'll have a team of players who will play, against each other, and you'll try to select who's going to play against which player. That's kind of how the Pro League worked. And so you'd have certain players that would play certain races, and they would be particularly well attuned to deal with certain other players from other teams. And so you would kind of plan all of these things out, and then you would kind of figure out, okay, what are the best build orders when we studied this player? You have to beat this guy. And so then, you'll get some work with the coaches, and then you'll get some work with your B teamers. So you have effectively kind of like an academy team. So you can practice your build orders and you can practice your strategies, and you'll get that guy to kind of replicate what the other player who you expect to play against, what he's going to do and his kind of strategies and build orders. And so you can kind of test stuff. And it's all super hidden, completely hidden. And I expect that we're going to see a lot of that in this game because there's so many different ways to synergize and so many different plays you can make. And there's very little time to adjust in this game. In Counter-Strike, it's MR15, there's more rounds to play out, but in this game, it's going to come down to like a few key moments, a few key plays, a few key advantages, and so our teams are going to be hiding stuff. And so that's one big thing. And two, the other thing I think is going to be really interesting from the complexion of the professional scene is going to be the fact that not only will teams be hiding stuff, the playbooks themselves are going to be enormous. And so you're going to need a really kind of well fleshed out coaching staff, and you're going to need players that can play multiple roles, and they are prepared to do that and know how all of that works. So you're going to have lots of analysts, maybe multiple coaches, maybe an attack coach, a defense coach, like to really do it proper justice. I think that's going to be the way the future will be with this game.
Attack coach and defensive coaches, really? Was that something in CS? Was that regular?
I wouldn't say it was in CS, but I know in some traditional sports that's how it works. Okay. And I think that I think you can have a huge coaching staff. If the game gets really huge, I think that would be a great way to do it. Maybe you'd have the head coach with all said and done. But I think that there's just so many elements of this game that you have to understand about how to play the other team and the things that you need to be able to do. If you can afford to do it, if the money is there, I think that you should do it.
Overwatch definitely invested heavy across the board in coaches. Coming into year 4, most of them have trimmed back massively. So I feel like before you have the coach, you need to have the structure within the organization to build upon. And also as a player, you need to have coaches that you respect. Otherwise, it all falls to the wayside. But I'm with you. Like year 3, this is a multi-million-dollar business for all of the teams. I'm like, staff up everywhere. have a spray coach, like, analyze everyone's spray, give them little tips. By that point, I was able to find the rules settings, and I put them inside the chat for anyone else who wants to check it out. It is 1 30-second timeout per map, and I'm just bringing up
Okay.
that the coach is able to join them. But this is something I'm really excited about, because coaches was something at the start of MLG we really thought was cool. We allowed every Halo team had a coach behind them with a clipboard keeping track of power weapons. Over time, the coach got phased out to where they couldn't be communicating with the team during the game or in between maps, that they could only talk to them after the matches or before matches. And I believe that was around the same time we brought in League of Legends and then Counter-Strike into the mix of things. So I want to see, is Riot going to put a ton of importance on the coaches? And there's no bigger way of doing that than allowing the coaches to have in-game feedback while the map is live.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I think is really interesting about this, because the assumption could be that the coaches, this was the thing with Valve 2 with CS, is that they wanted it to be the case that 5-man roster that's those are the stars, and that the coaches aren't as important in some respects. Because obviously in a lot of traditional sports, the coaches are completely just massive celebrities in of their own right, and the way the responsibility falls is not on the players but on the coaches in terms of their performance, generally speaking. And so you'll fire the coach for the team performing badly before you fire some of the remove some of the players possibly. So I think in this game maybe there's a similar formula where a different formula where, like CS, it's like we want the 5 players on the server. They're on the server playing against each other. We want the celebrity to be with those guys as opposed to the coaches. And given the fact that, like, how do you do a draft? Like when that starts to happen, like, how does that work? Do you have a specific guy that prepares the IGL for the draft? Does that guy get to do the draft with the IGL? Like, does the IGL even have a part in it? Like, how does that all work? That's gonna be really fun.
Happen? Is that something real that could come down the line? Because in every other league, even the city-based leagues up to this point, I believe outside of the NBA 2K league, they've all just selected and hired full teams at a time. We'll see.
Wow.
I hope there's a draft one day, Dan. Who would be your number 1 draft pick? Can we just go there right now? If you had to build DDK's super esports club that goes on to win 5 titles, who is the number 1 draft pick for DDK?
So first I'll quickly say that I actually meant drafting of agents.
Okay.
But I will answer your question.
NFL American, you're speaking to an American during the NFL season. That's where my brain went.
I'm going to say Elige.
Elige?
Yeah.
Just bringing him in.
Yeah, I'm just gonna give him the numbers that he can't say no to, and Elige's number 1.
And I just proved, guys, that my ADD is not strong enough to fully listen to Dan while also trying to read a rules document. Derailing it there.
Yeah, I'm just still looking at the stats here. Who would your first pick be?
First pick, I think it would have to be an IGL. And with my first pick of the 2021 Valorant Esports Draft, I would go with Steel, would be my brain, but then the excitement and the marketing would be flashing into my mind last second as we panic pick TenZ. TenZ is the number 1 draft pick. Fuel roster,
Nice.
Slaying power. We'll get the great minds on the coaching staff behind him, but TenZ is going to be my number 1 pick as my top fragger. Maybe even a Corey secret pick. If I'm like deep in the draft, Dan, and it's my first round, I might go Corey and just see if I can build around that young man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where he's going to be at. Have you been following him and his progress so far?
So I've watched him throughout his Overwatch League career, and he was a nobody at the start. No huge name, just like, this is a guy who's been dominating some online tournaments. He's been playing with X, Y, and Z players who are not near the top tier that everyone's talking about. And then all of a sudden, he's on this team, Washington Justice, that is getting blown out. And they give Corey the sniper rifle character, Widowmaker, and he is just taking on the best of the best, hitting nothing but headshots. From there, he makes Washington a watchable team. And single-handedly does it while staying super humble, super nice to all of his fans, and is just a rock star in my eyes who doesn't have attention yet. Now I see him leaving Overwatch League, which I was really wondering. I was like, you were the face of a whole city. Like, you were the Washington Justice. He's gone. He comes over to Valorant, and he immediately teams up with Overwatch Buddies, which made me real nervous, Dan. And now Clan is not in our final 8. Despite having very talented players amongst him, none of them coming from the CS background had me scratching my head, and I feel like it's starting to show in their overall match progress. So Corey, still a ridiculous super stud with, let's just use the word ridiculous instead of getting in trouble. Stupid good aim. Stupid good aim, but he's also a smart guy himself, so he could still be developed by the right IGL.
Yeah, oh man, in CS there's so many instances it felt like where you look at a player and you're like, if that guy just was being mentored by the right IGL or kind of father figure, veteran figure, as opposed to also being amongst a bunch of youngsters who can't provide structure or you know the kind of maturity and approach through experience and so on. If that guy just had that, he'd be, you know, his career would blow up. And there's just so many players like that, I feel like, out there. So I do wonder, like, you know, who was just like, of the players right now, who is being written off that's just not in the right team, right system. Because it's huge. Like identity as a player on a team's huge. I was just having a team talk last night with my team, and we were just actually sort of talking about each of our identities in the game, like what makes each of us play better and how that can function. Like, for example, we've got someone that plays best when he's calling the shots. Like, you know, he's a natural caller. We've got someone who's naturally playing the best when he's put in certain positions to succeed. So even if you have 5 players who on paper are incredible, they've got to complement each other in that sense. And so it can be really hard to find that in a game where you got to put 5 players together. It's super hard to find that kind of stuff.
Dan, we all want to know, what is your role? You talked about it as a pro diabolical player. What is Dan's role?
It's funny. Like I'm kind of the, what was it? My teammate's like, I know I can't tell you what to do, but if I criticize you, you get mad and you play better. It's like one thing that he says to me, which is awesome. And but I'm generally like, I don't want the spotlight on me per se. Like, I don't like being the person that's supposed to be delivering the star performance or go up against the other star of the other team. But if you let me do everything in between, support everybody, then that kind of naturally happens. So, right, looks like we're back into the game. We actually missed the first round. You guys have got to bear with us. We're on the couch here together as we go into the third map between 100 Thieves and Cloud9. And Split's a map that I feel like should work really nicely for Cloud9 because, for 100 Thieves, because it's a very methodical map. It's very structured.
And Split, I'm still not sold on this map. There's too many swings in the games for me, Dan, although Ascent was just an 11-1 blowout. But I feel like this is one that you haven't seen Cloud9 really ban throughout the tournament. They're open to playing it. Haven't seen 100 Thieves record up to this point.
Yeah, it's a map where, like, I was really impressed with North America because, immediately this game in North America, it feels like it's a sign of the times changing, actually, in some respects. It feels like North America, because historically in tactical FPS and FPS games in general, Europe has been king, ultimately. And this is the first game where it's like, you look at the North American scene, you're like, holy...
Are they ahead?
There's so many good players. There's so many good teams. There's so many orgs and money and interest, and the level of competition is actually really good. And you have a lot of the correct cultures coming across. There was a cultural issue in North American CS to begin with, and it feels like it's in such a strong spot right now. And it was the kind of defaulting in the structured gameplay that wasn't so typical historically in TAC FPS for North America that impressed me on this map.
Asuna getting real aggressive, pushing through B. A quick flash coming out. We'll keep Breach alive. That's going to be Vice. And now you can just see C9, no matter where they go, they have aggressive guns pushing them. You look at these green bodies on the minimap. 100 Thieves is really kind of just taking control of every angle here, making it near impossible for anyone to get wiggle room.
Yeah, I'm liking so just the proactiveness at the beginning, taking initiative as well. It's like the flow of the map, just keeping everybody guessing.
Vice is kind of holding his own, though. All right, finds 2. No spike, no round, but at least you're going to keep your gun if you can hide for 40 seconds.
Yeah. That brings 100 Thieves right back into, well, on the board straight away. So it's always nice to see that as opposed to one team kind of taking a huge string of rounds. Immediately it's looking like it could be a pretty back and forth affair just because of the way the economy is going to go. Gives that opportunity. And we saw the B main aggression from 100 Thieves at the beginning of the previous round, as you noted with Asuna. So I'm pretty curious if that's something that's going to be kind of a go-to. Because what you can do is that if a team is playing a default style and they're playing a slow pace, you can actually exploit that by doing small pushes like that. A 2-man push on the extremities, where maybe you're only going to run into one player. You can win maybe a kill, you can force them back, you can win an ultimate orb, all of that kind of stuff. And they can't stop you. They can't stop you at all. So you're getting that advantage early on. So what happens then is that the attackers have to make a decision. Do they want to shut that down? And if they do and force you off of that, that's great, because you've just forced them to spend time shutting that down before they return to what they want to do. So it gives you information and it gives you more options as the defenders. So, and we're going to see it again here. So, and we're going to see that response. C9 are going to try to actually shut it down.
100 Thieves winning that round 3. They have a stinger to fight with here in round 4 on Asuna. Other than that, everyone else is fair fight as it's all ARs across the board. Relics is going to find Asuna, who was very aggressive the previous round. This time, Relics is just holding the angle ahead of time, is able to find the easy one.
So it's kind of perfect.
I enjoy having Lex back. Lex on the microphone is something I wanted to see here, Dan. He's with the great Van Silly on the call over on the main channel.
Yeah, talking about OGs, Van Silly, he is the OG of commentary, one of them. Trees on through.
There's from TSN for sure. All right, I got to reset my streams. Dan, can you just tell me the clock that you're watching at?
Yeah, I'm at... Oh, well, the spike's planted, so I can't help you right now. I can refresh my stream as well. Maybe I'll keep it just in case.
Shout out to everyone joining us today, by the way. It's Friday. Hope everyone is having a fantastic weekend. Just watched some video games. Immortal Minds, normally we do a Saturday show, but we wanted to join in on the tournament action today and watch along with you guys. It's going to be Cloud9 up to a 3-1 start here on the attack on split.
Yeah, it's so we kind of saw it play out as we were talking about. Like, we get the initial play from 100 Thieves. They show, hey, we took an advantage this way. You gonna do anything about it? C9 are like, yep, we're gonna do something about that next round. They get the kill on Asuna and B main, and then they get the option that they can either reset out of that in a 5v4 advantage, or they can just continue with what they were doing, which was mid control, hold that B main control, and then split, which is what they did. So now we're going to see that no B main shenanigans from 100 Thieves. Instead, 100 Thieves are actually playing a three players towards male, and they're playing retake on basically both sites at this point. So interesting approach from 100 Thieves. We'll have to see how Cloud9 play around this. Cloud9 have all ults accessible to them. So we've got the Killjoy ult, looks like it'll be going down in B main, and they have 2 players towards A ramp as well. So I'm curious how this is going to look. It could just be here to pull rotation. Yeah, so the TP towards A, so it's a fake with the lockdown. That's an awesome setup.
Yep. You got everyone to bite on it, and then you just go over to the empty site. And the Rockets come out against a Shotty. The shorty is bigger for Dicey. Small moment that gets me excited, Dan. It's the little stuff. 200 credits versus 7 orbs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty. That is very frustrating whenever you die to a shorty like that.
Desperation makes it a 1 versus 2. It's winnable.
Nice.
It's not winnable.
Awesome round.
And what did that cost them? They did pull out the rocket on Relics. Probably unnecessary, but he went for the big play up top. You could have done that with just the Omen ultimate, right?
Yeah, I think it's the lockdown that really sells it, because you think that, oh, they're definitely investing behind this lockdown. And that's what's really cool about the lockdown too, is that, you know, it feels like such a strong threat. Like, why would you drop that and not use all the space that you've just cleared? So it is really difficult to know how much a team will try to work fakes off of that. So now they have a tell that if Omen has a TP available, the ult TP, that they should be wary of that. So we can hopefully we get that situation happening again, and we can see if the response is the same. And you know, here it's just going to be a default setup where Cloud9 are looking after B main, they're looking after A ramp, they've got some pressure in mid. So right now 100 Thieves don't know what's happening, but Cloud9 are just also waiting to see, are 100 Thieves going to do anything? Early round is over, they haven't, and so now Cloud9 are deciding to actually put pressure on B main again.
Mitch has that spike. They were about to make him peek first. He's going to get out of dodges. Steel holds his own. Flashes from above. And nothing is going to affect 100 Thieves over on the B site. And now you're in a tricky position here. Cloud9 waiting on Relics to wiggle his way through mid. And they're just waiting, lurking. This is a C9 round, or sorry, 100 Thieves round, 100% here, unless C9 does something magical with Mitch sneaking into the corner.
Yeah, they don't really have, like, if there was a lockdown here to kind of create some space for them, I'd be more confident.
You don't trust the alarm bot?
It's oh wow, we're actually going to get the breach ult.
Okay,
that's interesting. That's going to delay the spy plant. Oh my god, look at the delay from breach. Oh, I can't even get it down in time.
It's the worst. It's the worst way to die in the game. 100%. You see it coming, there's no time left. So it wasn't super clean. They lost 2 players at the end there, and they invested the breach ultimate. But it is a second round for 100 Thieves. And both teams unafraid to unleash those ults when needed.
Yeah, like Steel's performance there with those 1v1s around B main, it was pretty remarkable. Like, he just gets 2 kills there untraded as well. And it felt like what Cloud9 did was really good in terms of the attack, but you can't always account for the individual performance. And Steel's been moving around a lot with the Killjoy too. And that's always going to be hard. It's going to make the situation hard to read, because that's another thing about this game is tells. And you don't ever give the other team tells to work off of. Or if you do, it's just to mislead them.
I will tell you, that's probably the last time Cloud9 looks for just the raw peak down B main as well.
Yes, yeah.
Flash is required if you're going to try and enter that site. You look at the spread, they've been everywhere. Majority of the group rotating their way over to the A site through sewers.
Yeah, and it's that fear that's been instilled, as you were talking about, for 100 Thieves towards B main, that they don't have that early round info that allows Cloud9's future rounds to be stronger, because 100 Thieves don't have that early round info.
And it's Dicey who's going to be in charge of damage.
This is really interesting. So Cloud9 don't have to commit onto the A site from this position. They cleared mid already, so looks like they are going to commit to it though. But when you take the top of A ramp, it's actually, you don't have to commit onto the A site. It's extremely threatening, and you can always rotate out of it and leave a player there for lurking purposes, or to like suggest that you're resetting into an A play again. But they decided to just send it, and hey man, if you're confident, can hit the shots, go for it.
I wouldn't have your confidence, but if you got it, go for it. Yeah, it's tough, right? Because you don't have the mini map we do. You can't see how many players are actually stacked up on that A site. But as soon as you dropped the first player and you saw Mitch through mid, I felt like a B rotation was about to go down, and they just tried to kind of ham fist their way into A heaven, and one by one got picked away.
Yeah, I would really love to see more more teams. There are some teams that had this in their defaults, but the A ramp takes, because you can take A ramp, like it will usually be the case that with a breach and a cypher is particularly good, because you can use breach to get fault line someone off of the top of A ramp. You can cage the ramp and the entrance from site and kind of walk up with 2 players with the flash as well, and then you're in position up a ramp. And it can be a 1 to 2 player job, and it creates huge threat. And right now, 100 Thieves, they don't want to go aggressive because of some of that early rounds, those early round setups. So it allows, again, Cloud9 to have the space to contact. And
yeah, also, you don't want to give any guns away to short range damage. I think in these later rounds, they're way behind in the economy, so just sit back, pick them off from where you have the advantage. But they've got the numbers advantage over at the A site, and this is what I do want to credit Cloud9 on, is their burst. When they just burst onto a site, this time they're going to get the spike down in the middle of a lockdown. And that is going to be, of course, Steel putting that here. Will he be able to react to follow it up? Still plenty of defenders that could get in on the mix, and they will have the better weaponry to do so.
Lockdown's available as well, and so that's going to be a problem because everyone's on site at this point. There is a little spot at the back of the site, but they're going to try and challenge it directly, which is definitely the right call, using the breach ult. So if nothing else, that's an ult for ult trade, and the breach ult is very valuable on this map. Well, I guess everywhere, but Hiko's trying to do some additional damage. But
that's incredible. They did that with Frenzies, 1 Sheriff, the lockdown, and then the breach ult to lock it in. So when they're even outgunned, Cloud9 doing a great job of comboing these ultimates to lock in rounds.
Yeah, and that's the problem too, is that if you, it's like you said, you don't want to, there are certain spots you don't want to challenge because the playing field is a little bit too even. They've got lots of pistols, they've got lots of numbers, the ranges are kind of close, but there is that kind of point of no return too, where if you let them go too far, it can be really catastrophic, as we saw there. And so it's difficult. It's very difficult to manage, especially with teams that are this good. And in this spot, we'll get Cloud9 once again with that B main control. They've got the turret there as well, which they can play off of. So that turret makes contact. Mitch can push through. The turret can also suggest that no one is there. And so you can just use it as that bait. And back they go.
All the way through spawn.
100 Thieves should be afraid that they don't have info right now, because that's going to be the story in the early round. They haven't been wanting to take early round info, and what is a problem when you're not doing that is this kind of play style where you play contact, because you have no warning as to what's coming. You have no idea what's happening.
They threw the smoke up heaven. That's going to be Dicey sitting in it. The other one goes back to screens. There will be a 3-on-5 if they're going to initiate right away, but expect a slow push onto the site from the defenders once they have full roster in position. And Mitch has got the ramp with an operator, has to hit these shots, and that is a huge kill from Dicey. Opens up the whole backside flank.
Yeah, this is a really big problem now because Cloud9 have no one except people on the site itself, which is actually kind of hard to hold the site with. If you don't have screens, you don't have a ramp, it's terrifying. But they are very good, and they're hitting some of their shots, so it looks like they should be okay here, especially given that Dicey missed that shot. That could have made the difference, but Hiko's not got anything to work with. So quite scary. I would have liked to have seen someone helping Mitch around the A-ramp position. I think that would have been really useful, as opposed to having 3 on the site itself. Hiko gets 2 kills to the classic there, and is able to pick up a gun. That's not bad.
Okay. All right, old man. Michigan native. I don't like many things from Michigan, but I do love me some Hiko. And we're looking at this defense 3-6. Is it 6 attacking rounds for Cloud9 split? They've been looking good on this map. I enjoyed their matchup against Envy. Now you can see them performing against a squad that isn't scouting early, and Dan touched on it. They are simply just flooding onto the sites as a 4 or 5 man group with very little resistance, as they're waiting till about 40 seconds left in each round to make their push.
Yeah, it's really scary, these rounds. It's just one of those difficult
They didn't
maps.
have guns though. Now 100 Thieves has weapons.
I'm curious if 100 Thieves will actually try to play for early round info or not, because like if you see what has been successful on the attack here for Cloud9, like that with full weapons is so strong. It's something that G2 are really good at doing on this map, and it's so hard to stop it. Like contact plays in this map, if you don't have the players already ready to respond as it's happening. And
Dicey's getting aggro through the flash, able to bail out because he's Jet, and that's what Jet does. But
look at the rotation from that one bit of action. Look at the fear for 100 Thieves. There's so much fear because they've given up a ramp, and this gives a lot of opportunities actually for Cloud9. They can either split A and really represent it. They could fake A and then go B. They can do so much off of this. It's so impossibly hard for 100 Thieves.
Relics also on your mini map is that raise on the far right. You can get so much information just listening from that position. He's on the little jump up outside of the ramp. Meanwhile, the rest of the 4-man squad is going to continue moving into B together. Just Hiko to spot it right away. And then there is one player that's going to be Steel playing the deep corner. But you can imagine every bit of utility is going to be coming flooding in that direction.
Oh my God, Steel is insane. That is just so nuts. He was right at the back corner of the site. No one checked it. He gets a 1v1, or he gets the drop on his opponent, and the flash comes in at the same time to blind the next player. That is so phenomenal. What do you do about that? That's just like Steel keeps pulling out. Like this is the thing with Steel that I think a lot of people don't understand as well. One of the reasons why he was a part of the best North American team in his heyday with CS before the ban was because he also was extremely good individually. Like he was a sick player individually. And in this game, the mechanical ceiling is slightly lower than CS. I think it's fair to say. I think there's a consensus on that. And for someone like Steel, who's already like able to hang at the top of that in CS, just because he's a bit older and he's not some 17-year-old Fortnite transplant, doesn't mean that he's not going to just own everyone. And that's what he's showing us here.
Old man hands still work, Dan.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, they're not supposed to win that situation, so it's just really nuts that he's able to get that.
Yeah, he got 3, and it felt like all 3 were not ready for him to be there. So we got a little bit of engagement with Steel and Mitch at B main. Meanwhile, Vice was able to sneak up, but not for long. Asuna waiting at the top as Raze finds 2 in B heaven.
Yeah.
Down about 10 health, and Relics trades that out. But B is going to be tough. And they've got 3 on 4, but you have no idea how the defense is set up. And one of your players is down to 10 health on C9.
Yeah, kind of unfortunate that situation. You got a Reyna and a Breach not throwing a single flash and both just dying one by one, not even with spacing to trade each other. That's a really bad look for Cloud9. And there's a few more things to say about that, but they will reset into B heaven again. It is a 3v4, so as long as Steel doesn't just 3k them again, they might be able to do this. And there it is. Steel, he's just going to annihilate everyone.
Get them all, Steel! Nope!
2 HP.
Wins this gunfight. IGL battle. And that one was in the middle of a spray, so we'll give you this one. And speaking of spray, Hiko just sprays the bubble and stops the plant. So what looked like a dire half, it was 2-6, I believe, at one point, is now looking like a 6-6 finish if 100 Thieves can win this round, knowing they have way better weaponry, as well as the Lockdown ultimate, as well as the Breach ult, Rolling Thunder, both available for 100 Thieves. On the other side, you've got a rocket in the pocket for Relics. In 10s, he's going to be able to heal himself on Reyna, going for dismiss after dismiss if he can put together some kills using that ult.
I would have liked to have seen Cloud9 playing. Well, I might have to hold that thought here because they do go for the B main aggression again, 100 Thieves, and we haven't seen this for a little bit, but Dicey can just post up and can hold this angle, which actually allows anyone else around B to just rotate fully off of it. Beautiful. That Shinobi runs right into that.
Timing. Just timing right there. And Dicey was pre-aiming the hard A for the last 3 rounds in a row. So just switching up here in the final round, paying dividends. 2 more kills found in the middle and outside of A. So everything going 100 Thieves way. Everyone that was a threat on Cloud9 now eliminated. And they are working with just a Sheriff here as well as a Vandal.
Yep. Not a good look for sure.
Done. Ooh, Mitch with a swing, and he's got his lockdown off of that now.
There's a breach ult as well, so, but there isn't one in kind coming in from Hiko. He's not messing around. Just finishes it off straight away.
Done.
Nicely
Hiko
done,
with a good
indeed.
comeback in that second half, but I think you nailed it. The steal rounds, the steal Hiko combo, both are kind of lurky players. Both just make you make mistakes. They force you out of your comfort zone and make you kind of chase them a little bit further than you would want with the skill to punish.
Yeah, Steel's his mechanics, his aim, and his positioning has been just rock solid. Like he takes every. What's really cool is that you can almost predict every single fight he's going to win because the way that he sets himself up for it and the way that he's shooting is just perfect. You can't really do it better. Like here, he gets that first free one. I mean, this was just almost given to him because of his teammates and because of the timings. But you know, he's delivering and he's winning so many 1v1s. It's crazy. But one thing I wanted to mention is that I feel like C9 didn't do enough in terms of taking position away and forcing rotates. 100 Thieves were, I think, able to. I mean, they don't really have time to go into it, I guess. So we'll just jump into the pistol. But
just do it, Dan. Don't worry about the pistol round. Break it down for us.
But they have these, you know, Reyna and Breach, and there's too many spots where they're not just flashing off opponents and then taking position. You can, and I mentioned it before. You can take A ramp. You can take B heaven without committing to B. But these are things that they never tried to do to force rotation, and it forces rotations and puts the defenders in spots which are very hard to deal with. But they instead were just trying to win the straight up fights. And 100 Thieves are just doing more there. They're taking good spots and they're tactically playing quite well together. So in that sense, they're taking the advantages. And Cloud9's a team that can brute force it a little bit here and there because of tens. But I would say pound for pound, 100 Thieves have much more firepower. So I would not want to try to brute force against 100 Thieves.
Speaking of brute forcing, we saw a B brute force effort there coming in from the C9 crew as they are able to lock down the B site. This is where you can run away with a game.
Yeah.
I want to see what 100 Thieves have in their playbook for the attack. So this is going to be really fun to watch because Ascent is shooting well all match. Nice blast pack movement to get aggressive already up to elbow. Now you got the Omen going sneaky here, but Mitch holding strong with the Spectre for a moment. How long is the question? Spike not planted yet is going to buy time for the rotation for C9.
Yeah, I'm already liking some of the early stuff here from Asuna, and we'll go back into that in a moment. They're trying to defend with the paint bombs. Oh, they're getting very close though with the shoddy. They're trading through from Dicey, but unfortunately there's not enough players, not enough bodies in the way of that to prevent the defuse from coming through. And I was going to say that I liked the initial opening because what some teams are doing with Cypher, and we didn't actually mention that we are seeing an absence of Cypher, but one of the things that's really cool with Cypher that a lot of teams would do is a combo of Cypher, like throwing those typical default cages around a ramp. Then then your Raze enters the cage towards the site and uses that as like a launch pad to satchel in and double satchel into the back site. And then the Omen will throw a flash from the bottom of A ramp through the site to catch the anchor of the A site, and then the Raze will kill them. And that's kind of like how a lot of teams started to do A openings. And so that was kind of reminiscent of that for me. But we'll have to see if there's any more from Asuna and Dicey here. They need to deliver because 100 Thieves, definitely a team that's still behind Cloud9 in terms of their development.
Yep.
But a team that can definitely defeat them.
Yeah, they've only been together for so long, and you can see Dicey's with the frenzy as well as Asuna getting the job done with their pistols as they're able to pick up some crucial kills A heaven. So Cloud9 down to 3 players. It's a 3-on-3. Spike is still at the bottom of the ramp, has not been spotted over at A, and they do have the lurk in mid. Lots of time as well. What do you do here with a minute left in a fair fight, knowing the opponents probably don't have much better than an SMG in hand?
Yeah, and there's lots of info here for 100 Thieves too. They have that mid, they have ropes, they have A heaven, they've got ramp control as well. So they're looking for that play into the A site. On that gap though, Relics will find Asuna. That's unfortunate. Again, the weaponry is certainly causing problems here for 100 Thieves. And they needed to be able to hold on to that one angle. And
stupid turret.
They were unable to do so.
Oh, poor Hiko. All right. It looked like they had a chance. And then the shots landed, the better
Yeah.
weaponry, the armor, it all comes into play. Taking a look at the monies, though, both teams are going to be able to buy up. Vice sticking with his Spectre, same thing with Mitch, but they will be saving for an AR in the future. Everyone else, full armor, rocking Vandals, or sorry, I should say it's all Phantoms for C9. Vandal always in the hands of Steel. It looks like Hiko has been favoring that rifle as well for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, so we'll see sort of if there's a change here from 100 Thieves in their approach. This is kind of defaulty, and this is what I was talking about. We saw Breach fault lining top of a ramp, the dash from Dicey, trying to take top of a ramp control, and that would have been a huge win, but that play hasn't worked out. That leaves 100 Thieves in the 4v5, but they do have mid control. They have the ability to clear ropes. Ropes is usually empty. Usually teams will rely on a Cypher Trip or an alarm bot, as you guys can see at the top of ropes. So given that there's nothing spotted here, that it may be that 100 Thieves will want to just walk all the way through, and they have Breach with the spike at bottom of a ramp, so they kind of are committed, or they feel committed to work off of that positioning, and they've got to win this ropes battle, but that's not what you want to see. You don't want to see 10s on Arena when you emerge from the ropes.
And great job as well. I believe that was Shinobi's blind. I assume it was, not Nitro's. Yeah, Nitro still has his paranoid. So Shinobi set him up again. So many times you're going to see 10s killing players with black circles over their heads. And those are just the paranoid from the Omen through walls, setting up their top fragger. Relics is going to find a kill as well. So last man standing, it's Nitro just trying to keep his gun. In an abysmal attacking round, they did not get pushed up. You look at those red X's, one inside ropes, the rest in the middle of the ramp, and of course at the bottom where the spike lies.
However, if he can manage to save the weapon, that would be a consolation prize.
It's a tough world. It's a tough look. That defense, as you were kind of highlighting, is really coming into play for Cloud9. As much as Cloud9, I feel like could have done more on their first half. They did more than enough with the 6 rounds, I would say. And yeah, I really like the idea to. I really want to see that take of a ramp control as part of just a map control take, instead of we're taking it because we want to go to the site. You can do that with Breach. You don't need to have the Cypher to do it, to accomplish that, but the last round was unfortunate because Cloud9 had a setup. They had a player up there, or two. I think Tenzel's up there, and he has been moving around a little bit, so I think that could have worked out in a different round. So we'll see if they go back to it. But it's Nitro obviously has the gun he's saved, and they're going to go for a hard and fast play through to the A site. The fault line will come through to a top of a ramp, and Dicey's popped the Blade Storm, so that's got to be everything here for them. He's got to be able to find the kills, pick up the guns for his teammates.
I will say the last 3 rounds, Dicey right away has dashed to the top of the ramp. This time he kind of holds back a little bit. And the Killjoy, that was Steel, was pre-aiming the corner that Dicey is normally at in the first 10 seconds. So a little difference in the tempo. Good read, though, from the... Sorry, I should have said that was Mitch holding the top. I was going to say good read from the early defense from Cloud9. But now you look at the mini-map, and A is flooded. They're ready to go.
Yeah, it's like really making 100 Thieves, or rather, sorry, Cloud9 sweating on that defense. And now the full rotation comes through. Again, Dicey's got to find kills there. He's got to be, oh, that's unfortunate. Misses the right click. I don't think it would have done too much, but...
Relics turns that into 2. Almost got the nade off for a 3rd. Instead, it's a very weak Hiko at the back. And 11th round for Cloud9. They have not given up anything here on the defensive end. Playing very deep on site, Stan, and just slowly picking off the 100 Thieves crew as they try and push in. It looks like they're missing a flash. They're missing something here. I don't know if we're going to see more Reyna play coming out of 100 Thieves in the future. Is Jet still the answer on this map in your eyes?
I mean, I think you can get away without playing a Jet for sure, but I think there is undeniably, Jet is really great here because there's so many ways to get that kill and dash away, and that's just such a huge value in a pro match. With that said, it looks like we've got a 3-player setup around Mail here defensively for Cloud9, and it just a full send it from B main into the B site. So we'll see if this is going to work out, because there isn't really ultimates for Cloud9 to help them retake this. They're going to have to do it off of the typical utility. And Steel has a lockdown. He could just pop that down in a moment.
So use
There it
Hiko's
is.
Rolling Thunder to clear the site, lockdown to finish it is the game plan here.
There we go. It's looking fantastic here. Oh, Tens with the dismiss dodges the epicenter. That's pretty sick. But it's will come down to the numbers advantage. And all right, so 100 these first rounds, Chris, is won by just full sending it B with a lockdown. And part of the reason why that works too is because Cloud9 decided to have a setup which allows them to contest mid and at the early rounds.
I think the Rolling Thunder would have caused problems for anyone who was B. It gave Cloud9 the heads up, but they didn't peek it there. If they would have peeked a little earlier and stopped the plant from Steel, he doesn't have the lockdown ready to go, and it's another C9 victory. Instead, two great things in favor of 100 Thieves to open up the round. And I'm looking at the defense here from Cloud9. Again, everyone just playing deep corners. They've given up mid completely.
Yeah, they've got Tens in the corner on the B side, just like playing really passively off of. So basically, Breach will take contact, then Tens will annihilate everyone. That's kind of how that setup is looking, as well as I think they've got Shinobi there as well. So it's all about setting up Tens here to just kill absolutely everyone as they move in. And it looks like they actually are going to split B. So this is a problem because Cloud9 are looking pretty good to defend this positionally.
Vice is just waiting, as you mentioned, as that breach. Shinobi will be watching his back, making sure no one comes up top B. Jet dashes in. Tens is waiting. Gig is up. Tens gets out of way with the dismiss. And Cloud9 is perfect so far. That's 3 kills without dropping a player. Just Hiko left alive with Nitro, and it all goes down to just Nitro left. Flash after flash. What a round. Cloud9 played that one perfectly.
Yeah, that was they were just so well set up. They seem to just know that 100 Thieves are going to hit that B site, and then they really demolished that split. The other cool thing too that I liked from 100 Thieves was they actually popped the Omen TP, which the whole point is that Tens has to shoot that. Or he doesn't have to shoot it necessarily, but that TP gets the info where Tens is, and Tens maybe it'll break his crosshair placement. He'll look to that spot as the teammates kind of pile through and jump on top of Tens, but it just didn't quite work out.
Vice able to pop that instantly, keeps his teammate hidden. Now you see the breach and Tens playing in male. Tries to poke out straight into a flash. Now a counter flash as they're looking to buy time. Get a good spray through the smoke. Means it's first blood for 100 Thieves. The first one we've seen in several rounds. Can they make anything else of it? They're so worried about someone being inside a vent. A lot of investment there to protect themselves as they're working slow B. It's going to be the defense as looks like Vice is just going to run all the way over to the A side. Are they playing retake strat here, or are they just totally thrown off?
They're saving it. I don't think that they expect that they were after they lost that first player. What happens, especially in a map like this, where the rotations can be really difficult, and if you don't have the ultimates too, it makes it even more suspect. But it's the case that like you can just stack somewhere. We lose a player, we're just going to stack a site. If they go to that site, that's awesome. We can have a good defense, good solid defense. If they don't go to that site, we can save. Looks like they're playing a bit aggressively for exits, but I would be surprised if they try to go for this because obviously they're so far away. I'm kind of surprised that they're doing this.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're going to save, right?
I mean, I don't know if it's the case that they're just trying to set up relics or something to get some kills, but I don't know how weak the economy is of 100 Thieves. In CS, sometimes there is an argument that just removing the guns from your opponents is actually going to be really impactful, and if you have lots of money, then it's fine, and they do have lots of money, so I guess that was probably what the deal was. They're like, guys, we actually have loads of money. Let's just go for some kills.
Interesting play there. Mitch was pushing out B main while you had Relics waiting inside the attacker's spawn as they tried to pinch. Instead, 100 Thieves wins all of the gunfights to win out there in round 20. We go into round 21, 12-8. Cloud9 still on match point. They've been there for the last 3 rounds. Haven't been able to close the door quite yet.
feels like there hasn't been enough of a... Normally you think, okay, how is a team kind of setting themselves up for reliable success? And so far the success hasn't looked reliable or replicable for 100 Thieves. So it doesn't really strike us with a lot of confidence, I feel. I mean, they're in a default setup at the moment and just making sure they don't fall victim to any aggressive stuff and early on from Cloud9, but Cloud9 are really comfortable just playing passive once again.
Yeah, I feel like 100 Thieves is just missing that super entry that we see on a lot of teams. Dicey was going for those early picks on the defensive end. Has not been the first to peak on the attacking side as they're checking every corner as they just inch their way up the map. Given mid for free again, Cloud9 is just going to let the rotation go down with an alarm bot waiting over at the top of A Heaven and Mitch playing very deep at screens over on the A site.
Yeah, and so the split here might be pretty good, but it depends on how well they're able to remove relics from the back of the site. As the anchor there, he could be really problematic. And actually, Tens is going to get there in there with him. Oh, God, it's falling apart again. Just the comfort from Cloud9 here is really... The experience together is really speaking volumes as they take this series against 100 Thieves, who made it close. They picked up a map, and it was competitive, but on this map, it just looked like 100 Thieves are just really on the struggle bus. If not for, Steel getting these... 3Ks and just like these big individual moments, it wouldn't have been remotely close, I feel.
It was fun to watch. I feel like 100 Thieves still has some learning to do on split, especially figuring out those attacks. We'll see if they switch up their agent composition as well, or if they can just get more value out of the breach flashes, I guess, moving forward. But I felt that they were a little weak on the punch onto some of those sites. And Tens also with the Reyna. You mentioned it earlier. Like, is there a character that fits this guy's playstyle better than that? The Jet, he was always so good at getting the kills and getting out. But not only can he get the kills now on Reyna, he can heal up or he can use the dismiss function, which he used over and over again to reposition and cause even more damage, especially in that last round, going from screens to back elbow to all of a sudden putting shots into 3 players on the A site. I love this. I feel like Cloud9 continues to evolve in front of us, a team that used to be Tens and Friends, where you expect to just be a one-man. He's being set up incredibly well by guys like Shinobi, guys like Relics, and the rest of the squad around him. This is a dangerous squad to look at, Dan. No wonder they were the #1 seed coming out of the open bracket.
Oh yeah. They look just very steady. They have a great mix of everything. As you said, that individual star power. They have the defaults. They know how to play contact. They know how to adapt to what the opponents are doing. They've got those plays that just kind of throw the wrench into the works type of plays that really throws top teams off. They've got like a really good sprinkling in of sort of all of the different components that it kind of takes to be well-rounded. And they're really good at the information game too and setting up without risking too much for it. Because that's like one of the things of the info game is that anyone can get information, but it's about trading as little possible in terms of your resources and the amount of players you have left standing for that information. And they're pretty reliably good at all of that on all the maps I've seen so far. And that means that they'll be moving forwards on the Group A bracket.
Yeah, they're not done yet. They still have to play the team that comes out of the losers bracket, I believe. And only the top 4 will be moving on into the big event, the First Strike Regional from North America. We'll have 4 more teams coming out of the UMG tournament, which will feature the bottom 4 from this event, as well as 4 more teams coming through the open UMG bracket later in the week. So it's pretty exciting times here in North American Valorant. I almost said CS, Dan, being around you so long. Valorant, North American Valorant here coming through. We knew 100 Thieves was probably the best matchup for C9, and now we know who would be the match or the winner in a best of 3. Will we see the rematch? Is that your prediction, or do you expect to see someone else coming out of that losers bracket being Luminosity? I guess is the only option there.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. It's kind of difficult because I think 100 Thieves, they do have a lot of holes still in their play. They as you mentioned, they're a pretty new team. They've got a lot of catching up to do. Cloud9's been together for a very long time with this lineup, and that really shows. And they've got a lot of tournament experience as well at this point. Although they did have a somewhat of a hiatus, as most teams did after the Flashpoint Invitational, but or the Pop Flash Invitational. But I'm jumping into Gen GT1. right now, Chris, because that's actually going on right as we speak. It's happening on Ascent first map. We're into the second half, and Genji and T1. There's definitely two teams which are going to be really like both teams have a lot of potential to be extremely good, and both teams are by many measures very very good. But if the question is that how are they going to look with continued development, because they both are experimenting a lot. T1 has gone through a lot of changes. They've got Spider in there who God, what was his name in Overwatch League, because he changed his name going to this game. Siaman?
You're gonna have to help me out.
Was it like Siaman or something? Oh my god. What is it?
You're gonna have to educate me, chat.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can figure it out real quick, because never change your name, please.
It's ungoogleable. Once you change it, all of the history gets wiped. Not a good start for T1 on defense. Getting loaded up on a B main, as it's going to be just a push.
Saya player.
Saya player. That's who Spider is?
Yes.
Oh my God. I just got so excited. How did I not know this? Okay. Sorry, I had some family issues. We traveled for 3 weeks. I come back. Everything in the Valorant world has changed. Saya player is right there with Corey, as in like guys on losing teams who just had insane accuracy, especially had a huge impact on the Widowmaker, the sniper. If Saya player is anything like he was in Overwatch, this is going to be one of the most exciting players to watch in Valorant, because his accuracy would win team fights. He'd take out 4 of 6 players, all with headshots every time. You could just count on him winning that duel every time he'd be challenged. What is he doing on Omen, though? I want to see this man maybe on a Sova, maybe on someone that gathers information, even a Cypher. Let him flash. Let him shine. I don't feel like Omen's the character to do that for Saya player.
So are you going to be good for us through this series, Chris? Because I know that we have a hard out here, but I'm like totally lost for time. We threw all this together last second.
We did it. So I need to get out of here in a little bit. I have a call, sadly, in 20 minutes that I just got reminded of through a text.
All right.
But I can hang with you through the rest of this game. Genji T1, it's 8-8 at the moment, right?
Yes, absolutely. Sounds good. Yeah, we threw this together last minute because we normally would do the Saturday show, and we're like, hang on. There's a reason why we can't get the kinds of guests that we normally want to get. And so we adapted. We moved at the times. We've got the co-stream action going on Friday instead. So it's
shout out to Nerd Street hooking us up with the feed.
Yeah.
As well as Riot allowing these watch parties. I think it's awesome. Hope to continue doing a lot more of these in the future. We'll be bringing guests on to join us. But it's been a good day of just watching Valorant, Dan. I've missed it.
Yeah, it's crazy how many matches suddenly are happening all at once, because there's so many teams, so many groups, so many things going on, so many regions after like a drought of like 2 months of nothing. It's like everything's just spilling out all at once. It's crazy. It's hard to follow everything that's happening, but it is happening. And there's so many teams that have been hard at work to have good performances specifically for this. Some teams that miss Renegades, the Renegades Invitational, so they could play this and not show anything before it. So, T1, one of those teams that has been rebuilding. They're a team that everyone expects a lot from. Obviously, they had, they've got Spider in there, Saya player. They've got who's someone from the Overwatch League that's mechanically is very good, and they got Skadoodle back in the lineup. They added Dazed in as a in-game leader, someone that if you remove Spider and added Steel, you would have the by Power roster we were talking about that got banned. So it's pretty crazy as a storyline.
It's pretty nutty. Also, we should remind everyone this is our Group B lower bracket matchup, because Complexity came through and bopped T1, then beat Genji in the upper bracket, right? So this is elimination match here in Group B.
I love that play that we just saw there. Even though it didn't work out for Skadoodle, the timing seems slightly off maybe, but the breach flash came from Catwalk and he dashed in with the Blade Storm. That could have been glorious. But glory was not had. No glory for Skadoodle.
Not yet. It's coming later for you, Ska. Welcome back to the competitive scene.
Yes.
I was nervous for a minute when they took Ska out of the starting lineup, or he benched himself or whatever went down there.
Yeah, I think he benched himself. But yeah, I agree.
Wanted to learn more than just Sova, is what I was told. Spider showcasing a little double headshot there, but this is Gen G Sean on your screen, and this is the new addition to Gen G that is really looking to help propel the squad. And he's been a arena rock star throughout the open qualifier. I don't know if you saw any of the open matches, but I caught 2 of them where Sean was just loading up on multi-kills. He was stringing together sprays, constantly dismissing and giving himself a better angle. Really impressed with a young player's talent, someone that wasn't on many people's radar before he joined this lineup.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that's something that's I think is a bit awesome about this game. It's giving so many people a chance to get in to that pro scene. Players that definitely are hardworking enough, talented enough, but maybe we're being gatekept as well in other scenes. That's always a thing in well-established esports and maybe things in life in general. I don't know, but I know that was definitely happening in CS, and I've seen that happening in many esports games. But yeah, it's great to see that. It's great to see that people get an opportunity. And Sean, a lot of people have been talking about him, and I have not really seen him that much just yet. And I've spoken to quite a lot of people.
Round for you, Dan. That's your first one. 4K to open things up for you. Just a small sample.
It's a little sample, a little taster teaser package. Is Sean. It's awesome, dude. Because I've asked so many people who are like from CS and stuff, or like are in the scene. People even in the scene are like, yeah, I don't really know who this guy is.
He had like 7 letters after his name, but they were all numbers.
Yeah.
Sean, one of the breakout stars on the other side. Spider is going to be my player to watch just because I haven't seen him. Also Dazed on the Sova now as Ska goes over to that jet, we should mention. Dazed is a guy I really enjoyed. His Counter-Strike content, just a brain, a guy who's always thinking about the game, as well as a very entertaining streamer. T1 is like, out of all my teams that I wish were better than they are, I think T1 is at that top of the list because they came out signing Brax first. They had such a great brand. They ran some of the early Valorant tournaments, and then it felt like they just kind of slowly withered away. They didn't compete in as many online tournaments that you saw a lot of the other squads on. And then when the big ones hit, they truly underperformed. They just kind of fell out before the round of 8, before the mainstream matches. And I feel like it's a squad that we just haven't been able to keep our eyes on recently until now.
Yeah, I think they were playing. They needed an IGL. They needed somebody to really help them in that sense. And so hopefully Daze provides that, because a lot of the ways that they were playing was fairly stale, very structured. They weren't very adaptable, and there's just like a lot of issues that they had. But hopefully, with Dazed in there and also having Sire Player or Spider, I'm looking to see a huge change. So we can talk more about that in a bit. But Spider on that Omen, able to dodge the Hunter's Fury with the TP, just having to dodge another Hunter's Fury here. Doesn't end for him, dancing around. And the A side is being occupied by Gen G. So looking difficult here for T1, but they have Brax still backside. He's causing problems. Very annoying that he's still back there. The shock dart's coming forward. That's possibly going to force him out into the open. He's still there, though. He's still alive. Eventually will go down, but look how much time he bought.
Brax on the Cypher is something that I thought was really interesting when they swapped him over. He used to kind of be the entry man for the squad. Now you can see AZK on the breach causing a little bit of damage, brings it down to a 1v1. I thought this was going to be a Gen G round for sure. Instead, it's going to be Skadoodle with the op versus Sean, and Ska will hold true. 9-10 game, very tight here. But going back to Brax on the Cypher, I felt like he totally changed up his playstyle when he switched up agents and he kind of switched up the roles. And I want to see long-term, is this the best use of Brax on T1 as kind of the man who's gathering the intel and then punishing once he gathers it?
Yeah, I think definitely he's a player that can do a lot of different styles. I think in terms of being more of a CS player, being more of a lurk, and that's something that's going to work out for him. I think that's something that was missing from their team initially, is that they didn't really have the aggressive answers, and they were playing too CS-y in terms of how they were sort of over-focused on defaults and over-focused on structure. We had Shazam on the podcast, live show, now a podcast.
The live show podcast. It's both.
It is both. It is both. We had him on not too long ago, and he was talking about that issue with T1, that this game, you can't have too much structure. it has to, obviously you have to have some, but it can't be that that's how you play the game exclusively, which you can get away with in CS. And in this game, it's not really quite like that. Got to be able to react, got to be able to read the game on the fly, got to be able to make plays at the drop of a dime. And so that's something that I hope that hopefully they're going to be finding with someone like Spider on the team and someone like, you know, a Dazed able to kind of call the shots and maybe position people to do that a little bit better. AZK, I think, is also someone that I think that AZK is so much better than I think that maybe a lot of people think that he is. And so I think in the right environment, the right team, he's going to be a superstar as well. He's so good. He's one of those people that can play any game and immediately be elite. Like that's the kind of guy that he is.
Right. We've seen him. He was an early pro in Overwatch before transitioning out of that title. Counter-Strike even before Overwatch. Now on to Valorant. And he used to play the roles, and I guess he still does. I like seeing him on the Breach, but he plays kind of the thankless roles. He played the Sage at the start of the title, always setting up his teammates to shine. But you could also see just his potential when it come down to a 1v2 clutch or 1v3 even at times as the last defender.
Taking a look at the arcade FPS, and he was extremely good at it. Like he played some Quake type games, and he was insane.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He can play anything and be insane at it.
You see him on League of Legends, kids. RuneScape. Nice. Drone is going to get a little bit of information out of A. I do want to call out also that I love Quinn has had a similar change up in his roles from the start. He also was that Sage, an opping Sage though for Gen G. Over to the Jet definitely fits his play style better, as we've seen over recent tournaments for Gen G. But it is going to be a heavy push up mid with an operator, and that should be scoped out any moment with AZK able to trade out. Instead, Dazed will fall at the end of that snipe, and AZK is in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. The push now is just two players coming from B main, which is not ideal. Brax is, he's in that's such great game sense there and good knowledge of the angles, playing from the boathouse and just able to do so much. Player one is actually very good as well. There's so many like nerd ballers playing this game, man.
And player one is a guy who I felt like only played Breach for 90% of his career up to this point. Now on Cypher, slips past the op and goes for the plant before Spider finds him on site. T1 bringing this game back, Dan. Strongholds on A, and then one by one, able to trade out kills until they get the victory over on B site.
Yep, absolutely. It's going to give them a solid chance to try to close this one down. The money is looking pretty sketch for their opposition as well. Gen G starting to struggle to hold on there. And you know, one development that I think is interesting with this game is that Sinatra really popularized anchoring the B site with Sova, and he really showed people how abusive the LMGs can be in this map in particular. There's so many wall bangable spots.
Scumbag with bullet penetration through walls. Yep.
Exactly. And then you know, people realize, okay, Sinatra can do Sinatra things, and we have to just like take a pinch of salt with what Sinatra does because he's crazy and he makes everything work. That you know, his innovation is just amazing. But having the rotate off of B, as we see, that's actually really so valuable in these pro matches. And the win there, actually going down, Scar able to catch the shot there. That's so important, but he has to be able to survive against the Reyna here. Shooting the Lear, and what? How did he pick that one up?
He just injected him. He pushed it in her belly button, pulled the trigger.
I didn't even see that he had the operator even in his hand. I thought he was like switching to the pistol. That is actually mad.
Doing God things makes this a winnable round. This should have been Gen G flooding the site. They have to take so much time to clear every corner. Where's Sky at? And he's upgraded to the Phantom. Sky with just his second, but it's going to be more kills after that. And what a finish as T1 holds it down on B. That was looking dangerous.
Yeah, that was it was such a great setup. It was a little bit off in the coordination, just like timing wise. You can always, I mean, in this game, you can always make it a little bit better. But you know, you see the updraft dash to try to punish Scar with the operator. He somehow connects that shot. The Omen TP from GMD from Guimond comes in afterwards, and that's also supposed to be a part of that play that's supposed to just break the back of Scar. And then you get Sean coming in, and none of them can actually make it work somehow. That's kind of nuts. It actually felt like they should have won that round, but that feels like maybe that could be the straw that broke the camel's back. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it's just game one of the best of three. Not sure whose map pick this was, but T1 on defense here for the second half could close it out right now as Gen G is looking for an answer on A side. It's going to be Spider who always holds this tree. He's been spotted and tagged by the recon.
Oh man,
And
great
flash
stuff there.
follow, but he's got the line of sight lined up. And one by one, they're all dead.
Yeah,
all dead.
pretty
It's done,
much.
Good luck, boy.
Looks like T1 will be looking to hold on to this one. It's so funny watching the Odin, but there you go. That's awesome. T1, I'm sure there's a lot of T1 fans. How can you not be a fan of T1 and what they have? You know, we talked some towards their history, some about their history, and I'm really curious to see what they're able to do in this tournament. In a days, he was teasing to me, Chris, because I was talking to him. I was like, dude, you got to come on the show. And he was saying that is something he's interested to do, but when the time is right, when he feels like his team is really starting to get rolling. And so they've been hard at work ever since he joined to recreate a new system that would allow the team to be successful in a way that he thinks the game should be played. So looking forward to seeing their run in this tournament. That's a great start. Gen G are a great team. I know that you have to pop off quite shortly here, Chris. So thank you. But last second, we were able to kind of cobble this together and do a bit of co-streaming. It's been really fun to see. We got to see Cloud9 and 100 Thieves play. It's two really top tier teams at the moment.
Yeah, shout out to everyone who joined us in the chat today. Thank you guys. Hopefully this is not the last viewing party, watch party that we're going to be throwing here on Immortal Minds. And we will definitely promote the next one much more with hopefully a guest joining us, because I'd love to get an expert to just sit in and watch these rounds with us, Dan, as they break down what it has to feel like from players' perspective. But overall, I'm just excited for North American Valorant. Everyone has been going through phases, and I feel like after several roster changes amongst all of our top 16 teams, it feels like now at this point, the roles are starting to be cemented. You're starting to see players finding their comfort picks, and we're still seeing innovation on the attacking side. I feel like defense is kind of pretty stale at this point, but the attacks are ever evolving, and I feel like that's going to be the next tier of unlocking Valorant gameplay is super well thought out attacks and really well coordinated ones. You saw a little bit of a sample from 100 Thieves coordinating their ultimates. But you just wait, guys. In a year, everyone is going to have these set plays every single round with more coaching backing them up.
Absolutely. And you guys can stay on the stream too, because we'll be raiding Nursery Gamers. So, who are so kind enough to allow us to do a co-stream. And I totally echo everything that you just said there, Chris. It's awesome to do this, and I'm sure it won't be the last one. And I'm sure we'll do a lot more. And I'm sure that we can secure some bright and promising minds to join us here on the show for that next watch party. And, it's going to be interesting to see where this thing goes. I think North America, like we said, this is a new look. North America's taken over somehow. And I'm pretty surprised, but it's happening. So
Dan he lives in North America now to support us.
Yeah, I'm a part of it. It's actually pretty awesome. Right, it's time to kind of close things down here for us. Thank you guys for joining us. It's a pleasure as always. Remember to follow the channel, and I saw a few of you kind of throwing us love, saying, what the hell, you guys should have way more viewers. We agree. So spread the word, spread the love, and we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll be continuing to develop and improve what is Immortal Minds. And again, as always, if you enjoy anything that we're doing, jump in the Discord. !Discord in the chat. You'll get the link to join in there. We have an awesome community, and I'm sure right now, I haven't checked at this moment, but there's pretty much always people in the match discussion channel just chatting about the pro matches that are happening. So if you want to join in on that, then go for it. And thank you once again for watching. That's all from myself and Chris, and we'll see you on the next one.
Deuces, everybody.